Well, good evening, everybody. I hope you are all well. I hope you can all hear me okay. I hope you can all see me okay. So, wow, what a past 48 hours we've had. That's all I can say. So, yesterday I went and had a CT scan. This was because I had pneumonia back in February. I was in Stoke Mandeville Hospital, I think. Yeah. And then I was supposed to have a follow-up CT scan at one of their local hospitals near there. But I don't live there. So anyway, it's took up until now for me to get that CT scan, even though I was on an urgent list. So I did the CT scan. And once I finished, I thought, do you know what? I got some time on my hands. Let's go and visit some migrant hotels. So I got hold of the ones that I know of that have been migrant hotels for quite a while now. Ones where I've received emails from those who have written in, and also from friends as well and other sources that can provide me information. So I managed to find out where a few of them were, but I was also given two others that I visited, and it was quite funny actually. I've got it recorded. I made the video. I was doing the editing this morning, was going to upload it, and then I had a message saying there's a protest in Bristol today at a migrant hotel. Go along and get some content. So I went there, got attacked. Stupid me. I'm sure all you guys who will know me will know how clumsy I am and how things don't go exactly to plan. It really doesn't for me. It really don't. But anyway, I park today right behind, and I'm talking 100 yards, my car. Well, luckily it's a courtesy car. My courtesy car, I parked about 100 yards away from Antifa and all of the left-wing nutters outside the hotel. So, anyway, I thought, shit, we got the wrong side. Okay, this is cool. Don't worry about it. We'll be all right. They ain't going to have a clue. And obviously I've got the cross tattooed on my face, but you know that it doesn't matter. So there's me going through my bag. I'm trying to get my kit out now. I'm trying to get ready. I'm trying to get the telescopic rod from my phone, trying to get the microphone, getting all the bits out, and the Union Jack flag just comes out a tiny little bit, just a tiny little bit. And someone's seen it straight away. Plus, they seen the Union Jack key rings, which, funnily enough, I bought of foreigners in London for stupid prices. But there you go. You couldn't write it. And within seconds, and you'll see when I upload the video, that I am ramsacked into this corner by Antifa. All of them with face coverings, the lot. And then the police come charging in, and I'm thinking, hey, here we go, it's going off here. I took a couple of quick digs into the ribs, and then the police were like pushing me as well, and they kicked me in the back of the legs. So I was like, whoa, like what's going on? Like, chill. And then I was explaining to this one copper, listen, look, I have the freedom to protest too. I said, look, you don't know my political beliefs. You don't know. I could be on this side. For all you know, you don't have a clue. So, you know, leave me alone type thing. But yeah, they weren't having it. And what I wanted to actually do was go and interview some of them and see what some of their opinions are. Even though I know they're just nutcases. These people are seriously mentally and gravely ill, and I really do feel sorry. Do you know what? This stuff. I used to work in a call center that smelled exactly like this area did. Right, funnily enough, it smelled of BO, unemployment, and just pure shit. That's the best way to explain it. Some of them were sat on the floor having a picnic together, like in the middle of a street. But then, of course, because of me having conversation with the coppers and arguing back and forth, because I wanted to stay and do some interviews or stay and get some content, and then I had my phone out and I had everything ready. All of them, and I mean all of them, they turned their back away from the so-called far right, and they started facing towards me. Oh, wow. And there was a line. The police had to line in front of them. And they are all chanting at me, there is more of us than there are of you. Or I'm thinking, yeah, because I'm on my own, right? But at least I got the bollocks to stand here in front of all of you. And I stood there. I thought, I ain't moving for you. No, not at all. And then the police grabbed me by my arm and he said, "Breach of the peace, mate." I was like, "What, are you nicking me now? What's going on?" And he said, "Look, if you want to go and protest, which side are you on?" I said, I'm neutral. I said, I was trying to be difficult. And he was like, look, I can see with the flag, you obviously with them, go this way, go that way, da 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 da. So anyway, I stood there arguing with him, and they were still just shouting at me, getting like, some of the stuff they were shouting was unreal. But yeah, it's it was nuts. But yeah, let's just go through some of the comments. Leslie just said, "Hi PC, everything goes well health-wise for you. Pneumonia is nice." No, it wasn't. It was absolutely horrendous. I absolutely hated it. Yeah, I was hallucinating with it and everything. It was like I had a million voices. It was like having Antifa in your house. It was nuts. But yeah. So anyway, after that, I thought, right, I've had enough. I ain't gonna stay here any longer, and I don't wanna. I want to be with my people. Do you know what I mean? I want to be with a nice lot. Like, but how nasty these people are, and how quick they acted, and they do not like the flags. This is without me saying anything as well. You got to remember this. I'm just walking in. What if I had a Union flag and was on their side? What's the problem? Why do they hate the Union flags? And this is the thing that I was saying to the copper. She was saying, you had that flag, and that flag is antagonizing to them. And I said, well, that flag that they're holding up, which is a communist flag, is antagonizing me. So can you go and please remove that flag? I'm requesting you now to remove that flag. They said no. And then I also asked them to go and arrest the man that assaulted me, because he did. He punched me in the kidneys, and I had a bit of argy-bargy with the heads as well. And I was thinking, all right. And I just stood there, and in the end, I said, come round the corner, because we're talking 400 or 500 people here. Come round the corner. I'm losing the plot now. I've seen red. Do you know what? It takes a lot to make me angry, a lot. But this really did make me angry. The fact of the flag, the coppers saying that it's offensive. The fact I've been attacked and they did nothing to the guys that ransacked me into the corner. The fact that the actual coppers, the way they treated me, it was disgusting, the whole lot of it. And then obviously they were all shouting. And when you got 500 people shouting at you and all that, and you're thinking, what have I actually done wrong? What have I actually done wrong? What have I done to you? Nothing. I've just turned up and you're all there giving it all that. But anyway, listen. I finally went round and I got to the people I was recording. And you could see straight away, people didn't even have to try and check me out or do anything. They were just going, "Hello, mate, how are you?" And I knew I was in the right place. And I seen the Union Jack, I seen the St. George's flag, and I seen a couple of guys I know from YouTube. And yeah, obviously I was with them, but unfortunately I got there a bit too late because it started at 1, and I think I got there about 2 o'clock. Must have been around 2 o'clock. So I got there, and then we had to be dispersed for some reason. The police said that we had to go somewhere else. So there was 2 of the ladies holding these megaphones. A lad had it at one point, but there was a blonde lady. I wouldn't say elderly, but middle-aged lady with a megaphone, which I wanted to have a go on, by the way. I really wanted to give them a piece of my mind, but by the time that I was there, I was only there for about 5 minutes, got a bit of footage, and yeah, we were moved on by the police. They just started walking towards us, and I think we were given a dispersal order for some reason. But so we walked towards this park, and then it lessened and lessened the group, and I was just stood left there thinking, you know, like of course there were still some people hanging around back with me, and I was just thinking to myself, why ain't there so many people here? Why ain't there, especially with what's gone on over the past couple of weeks with girls and children being, you know, sexually harassed and abused, and people being followed, women being followed, with what you know, like, and I know Bristol is mainly on the political spectrum, is on the left. I know that. But if you look at, in the past, at certain protests and riots that they've had, and you'll see how juicy the people of Bristol can get. And believe me. And, you know, I know plenty of people in Bristol that should have been there today that I didn't see there. You know, lads from the football clubs for a start. You know, Bristol City have quite a good firm. Bristol Rovers, I'm a Bristol Rovers fan, I'm a gashead. Bristol Rovers should have had a firm. They have a firm. So they should have had lads there. There was hardly anyone there. And that was really upsetting. There was a lot of women, and the lads that were there, they were lovely. They, you know, there was a guy dressed up as St. George, and yeah, it was good. It was good, but it wasn't good enough. And my urge right now, and I'll say this directly to you guys in Bristol, families in Bristol, you need to get off your backsides. Stop being scared and attend these protests, because the safety and the future of your children and yourselves, your partners, your family depend on you standing up and speaking out. I really did find it all quite worrying, you know, the numbers in that case. And there's apparently going to be another one. And I'm going to, if there is, next week, I'll make sure that I get there bang on time. In fact, I'm going to get there early. I'm going to be the first one there. And I'll make sure this time I don't park my car 100 yards away. And you know what's funny as well? I've spoken to a load of people wanting to know who I was as well, because I stood there with a microphone. And so I had a few more subscribers, and people heard what I was saying whilst I was making my videos, and they were all agreeing in the background. And then there was a couple of Hindus that went past, and Bristol's a very busy place. And they wanted pictures with my flag, my patriotic Christian flag, which is behind me. So I was like, yeah, crack on. Then people wanted pictures with me as well, which that was nice. So I enjoyed that. And yeah, I got a few more subs on, so just a couple more subscribers. And I met this lad called James. I don't know why I kept calling him Jack, but he had to walk back the same way I had to walk back, which was basically through the protest where these lefties and antifa are. And I'm thinking, oh, I stick out like a sore thumb. I'm 6'7" and built like a brick shithouse. They are going to see me from a mile away and recognize me, especially because of all the antics that had happened beforehand, where I'm going, come on, come round the corner. And all what happened with the police and me giving them a bow and winding them up. And yeah. So anyway, so we walked down, and James thought it would be a good idea to get his phone out and start filming. And he stopped and started filming. And I think this was, when we were walking past, someone said, get the F out of Bristol, you see you next Tuesdays. So I was like, what? And I thought, just ignore it. We're outnumbered here. And I mean, we're outnumbered. 2 of us. And there's like 400 or 500 of them. And then James gets his camera out and starts videoing them. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to film as well. So I thought it was good for content. Got the phones out. Then the police came. And we were thinking, where did you come from? Because I thought it was about to go off. I thought literally we were going to be in a situation where they were going to follow Edward Colston's statue, where they pulled it down. They were going to go in with them. That's what I was going to do as far as I'm concerned. To protect myself, I know that half of these people can't swim, let alone think. So they are going in the water. They're going straight into the water. I'm throwing them in. And that's how I would have protected myself. But anyway, James is there. He's asking him questions and trying to open a debate with him. The guy don't want to know. And then there's other people come in and they're trying to give us leaflets. And do you know what? I thought I'd turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek. I said, yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, I'll read that. I was like, do you know what the funny thing is, guys? It's like none of you actually know what we believe, what we think. None of you actually know. It's like I actually do believe we should help those refugees, but genuine refugees. I'm talking about the guys like in Ukraine and places like that are at war, but not those who are coming from France, a safe country, not those who have traveled through so many safe countries to get here. And then when they get here, harass our women, do things to our girls and what have you. But listen, look, so we're arguing, and this goes on for ages, and then we're just about to walk off, and then they do this applause thing again. Away! And I said, we can't have that. So we walk back, and we went, no. It's like, oh, you wanted an encore. You're having an encore. So we stayed a bit longer, and we thought, right, we just argued with the police for a bit, and that gives us a reason to stay here longer. And then we did it again. We walked away, and we was like, oh, no. So that happened twice, and then we bumped into this old guy. I will never forget him. I will never forget this man. And James, when he finds this video, because obviously he subscribed to it, he's going to remember as well, Kev. I was calling him Wilfred. But he said right in front of the police, how silly of a man can you get? The guy turned around and said it in front of the police. He said, do you know what I should do and what you should do? He said, we should just charge through them with, you've got a knife in your pocket. Just go and charge through them with a knife in your pocket. I've got my head in my hands thinking, I hope he hasn't got a knife on him, because if he gets stopped and searched and he get done found with a blade, he's going to prison. But like this old gentleman, like very old-fashioned, And then he followed us. He's following us. And then this lefty woman comes, and she comes up talking to us, and she goes, "So, why do you lot think you're better than us then?" I beg your pardon. So I think it's the other way around, isn't it? Like you're the one singing that we're fascists, we're racist, we're far right, we're this, that, and the other. You got all these labels for us. And you know, you can sit on your moral high ground and say this and that and the other about us. Yet you know, and you're saying that we think we're better than you. We aren't the ones singing all these songs or what have you. We just love our country and we want to protect our children. She went, "Yeah, I did see the sign. Yeah, someone had a sign saying 'Save our girls.'" And I was like, "Yeah, well, don't you agree with that?" And she went, "Yeah, I agree." I was like, so why are you here? And she goes, "See, what's your name?" So I said, "Well, I go by the name of the Patriotic Christian UK. I'm a YouTuber." And she said, "I'm a Christian." I figured, oh my God, you're a Christian. And you're stood with these communists, socialists. They hate Christianity. What? And anyway, we got in a debate with her. We started having a conversation with her. It went on for quite a while. It's all recorded. It's all videoed. Everything that I will upload is raw, and you'll have it. There's going to be 2 separate videos coming up. You've got the Migrant hotel visit by myself, where I went and attempted to visit 4 hotels in one day. However, 2 of them, well, one was the wrong one, because there's apparently 2 Queen's hotels, and I chose the 4-star or 5-star one, didn't I? But anyway, and the last one that I went to, so I got 2 on camera, which is a good watch, and I managed to speak to quite a good migrant. He was a good migrant. A genuine refugee from South Sudan. His name Mohammed, but he was an accountant. And if he brushes up on his English, I could see him actually being an accountant. And when I asked him the questions, you'll see yourself. You'll see yourself. I won't spoil it for you. And then I had an argument with a Karen and her husband. Her husband clearly was just, well, he's just an animal. Let's just say that from the start. And yeah, they were all told not to speak to me, and I managed to get some of them to speak to me. But yeah, and the last hotel that I went to was Travelodge, but they had just moved a load of them from a Travelodge to another hotel, and it is unknown at the moment where they've been moved to. So I've got to find that out. There will be a part 2 to the Gloucester Hotel Ibis one. I've done part 1 because apparently it's at night time. All the messages and emails I've received from those who have given me the information about Hotel Ibis in Gloucester have said, and I've noticed always an occurring pattern with problems. And I noticed each and every single email that I received, a message I received, it was stated that the problems happened at night. It was at night or in the evening, late in the dark, and it's all women as well. So I've got a friend who I might be able to use, who's a female, obviously, and I want to try and get some of this on camera. See how they treat her. Obviously, we're going to make sure her safety is paramount. Get her to walk 100 yards in their direction, where roughly the hotel is, and see how they act towards her, talk to her, whatever. And, yeah, see if she gets spoken to or if they call or whatever. And another weird thing as well is outside the Hotel Citrus in Cheltenham, there was a couple who lived next door to the hotel, and they gave me their what they think about it, their opinions and their beliefs. And the woman turned around and said to me that she didn't mind them being there, even though that a few days prior they had called her big ass, or they were commenting sexually about her backside. Because I turned around and said, I bet your bloke wasn't there. And she said, yeah. I said, there you go. Just imagine, like, now, because of that part of Cheltenham is CCTV, it's everywhere. If that was in somewhere, you know, out of view and where there's not many people, that could have been a very, very different story. So, listen, I'll let you be the judge. I'll let you guys watch that. We got to get on with this. I got to get on with this because I'm hungry and I want to get today out the way and sorted with. So yeah. So basically, Tommy Robinson. Wow. I haven't watched this interview. I've been told about it. I've been messaged by a few people asking me if I've seen the latest video with Tommy Robinson and Visegrad, which they make absolutely amazing videos. And I haven't seen this one, so I thought whilst I edit the videos, I'll watch it. Now I watched the first 30 seconds of it, and I thought this is going to be electric. This is going to be, I can already tell, this is going to be brilliant. So I wanted to do a watch along, and I want you guys to, you're more than welcome to watch along. I'm gonna try at my very best not to butt in. And yeah, if you see me disappear whilst we're playing it, then just ignore that. I'll be back and forth. But I actually do want to sit and watch this. So this is the first time I'm watching this. So obviously you'll get my reaction. And yeah, I'm going to mute my mic for the simple reason I don't want you hearing me talk over it unless I need to pause it and interrupt and have my say for any reason. But just before we play the video, I just want to go through some of the comments. So, we got Leslie again. PC, what do you think about all the Israel flags that will be at Tommy's rally on the 13th? Sorry, off topic. What do I think about it? No, really. I think it's good that we're supporting an ally. I just think we should focus more on the Union Jacks and the St. George's flag, the Welsh flag, the Scottish flag. And yeah, I would say that's my opinion. To be honest, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it because it's nice to see a variety of flags. It's nice to see that we're a variety of people because it's not just white working class people that are at these demonstrations or protests with the United Kingdom. We have a mixture of, sorry, bear with, shush. We have a mixture of Sikhs, Hindus, even Muslims. We got Shahab Sahel and some other guys. So we got a mixture of people from different countries, different backgrounds, different religions, of different races. And it is nice to see because you got to think as well, from the mainstream media point of view, nothing would please them more than just to see Union Jacks or St. George's flags. So to see a blend of flags from it, flags for Israel, flags for Iran, flags for other places as well, Spain, France, Germany even. The only thing that we don't want to see there is a Palestine flag. or an ISIS flag or a communist flag. Those flags I wouldn't want to see there. I don't think you ever would. But there we go. Another comment from Leslie quickly, just before we start. I'm just worried that Tommy is more of a Zionist than a British nationalist. No, let me confirm something with you, Leslie. So I was part of Tommy's crowd control team, and have been on 2 occasions. Tommy is mainly for Britain, and I can tell you that. Now you got to think what he's risked for this country, what he's sacrificed, what he's gave up, and when you look at, I mean, if he was, he's already been offered to go and live in Israel if he wants to, and get political asylum there, if he wants to, and I'm sure, you know, if he wanted to do that, they'd have him in, he'd go and join the IDF or serve for the IDF. If he was really, really, really like with his head wrapped around Israel and what people would call a Zionist shill, then he would literally be over there now fighting with the IDF. And you know, I know Tommy supports Israel. He's been over there. I support Israel. However, I do believe that they have gone a bit too heavy-handed. I think, you know, destroying Hamas is one thing, but with some of the things that have happened recently, I think things need to start toning down a little bit over there. And with Bibi as well, I think he's lost the plot a bit, if you ask me. But if anything, Tommy is all about Britain. He always has been. If you go back, in fact, Tommy still speaks about the same topics today that he speaks about back in 2009 when his activism started, and that is Islam is not compatible with the West. That what is happening to him and has happened to Luton, his town, growing up in his area, is going to happen to the rest of the UK, and it's going to come. And his words and what he has said during videos of old and new has aged well. So there's nothing of old where he's mentioned Israel. I believe the only reason he's ever mentioned Israel is because of the current conflict. So this whole worrying about him being a Zionist more than a British nationalist, I think you've got your answer there. He's been fighting for Britain since 2009, and he's just made his opinion known, if you like, about who he supports in the conflict in the Middle East. So that's where I'll take you on that. Right, guys, so let's get into this interview. I am so looking forward to this. I've already got my Diet Coke ready because I am a fat B word, and I need to get this weight off. So, yeah. And we've even got the dog, Rocky. Of course, he's here, my co-producer. Can't be without him. He should have been called Shadow. But anyway, let's get this going. All right.
Intimidate the British public into shutting up. Sit down, shut up, we're flooding your country, we're flooding your towns, we're flooding your cities, we don't care, this is what we're doing. If you step out of line, we're going to stick you in jail. Do you know anyone hooked on heroin, sold to by Muslim gangs? You don't, do you? I do. Do you know anyone who's been hooked by Muslim gangs? You don't, do you? I do. Do you know any kids who have been on Muslim gangs? You don't, do you? I do. So I don't expect you to understand, but I do expect you to listen. Yeah? We need mass deportations. We want them gone. They're not asylum seekers. They've gone through 16 safe countries, and it's not going to work. It's our country. It's not some Somalians' country. It's not the Afghanis' country. It's not. We've got nowhere we can go. They can go home. Where are we going? When the demographic of this nation has changed so much that it's no longer England, where are we meant to go? Is it right that we become a minority in England? No, it's not. And openly and proudly and unashamedly say that.
I'm here with Britain's most controversial man, or so the media claims at least. I'm here with Tommy Robinson. Tommy,
good to see you.
Such a pleasure to see you.
Smoking kills, so does his arm.
It does indeed. I'm going to start.
That was a hell of an intro, right?
Questions. What's the most dangerous idea that society has accepted as normal, according to you?
Islam.
If you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be?
Donald Trump.
If you could sit down with one of your enemies, what enemy would it be?
I don't have any enemies, do I?
If it was one of your critics, which of your critics would you like to
see? C.S. Morgan.
Tell them your version of the story.
Tell them my version. I don't know. Do you know what? I never make any relevance of our critics. I think
C.S. Morgan or Muhammad Hijab.
They're totally irrelevant in what we need to do. I always try to say to our supporters, ignore the left, ignore the communists, ignore them. We just need to make sure we're doing what we're doing. So I probably wouldn't want to sit down with any of them.
Are you a religious man?
I am a religious man. I wasn't. I am. In fact, I think there's a Christian revival coming. I think something huge is happening. I've witnessed it at our last 3 demonstrations.
Oh, okay.
Betrayed by the church in Britain.
Okay. Okay.
Who don't believe in Jesus themselves, and they've used it.
Wow. Right. Now I will interrupt. Firstly, let me confirm something to you. The 3 demonstrations that have been put up and set up were by Tommy and Urban Scoop. And they have had gospel bands. They have had gospel singers. They have had Bishop Kaijua, a very good friend of mine, who I'd like to give a shout out to. Hello, Bishop. And go and check him out. He's brilliant, Bishop Kaijua. Says things with the Trafalgar Square rally. I was backstage. I was doing work for Paul Thorpe's cameraman. And I did a bit of security for him, and that was it. And then we were backstage, and to see the hundreds of thousands of people, especially from my point of view, like being behind with the likes of Carl Benjamin, Lawrence Fox, and Danny Roscoe, and I think he was there. I think Danny Roscoe, was he? I can't remember. But Liam Tubbs was there. There was loads of people there. It was an amazing day, and the atmosphere was electric. It was. I've never witnessed anything like that. Paul Thorpe gave me that gift, so thank you, Paul. I really do want to say thank you to Paul Thorpe for that, because he gave me that. And but anyway, when he's talking about a Christian revival, this is something that I've been talking about for a long time. And I'm also setting up a group. If you guys go back in my community and look back in the past, a few months ago or a couple of months ago, I started talking about this group thing that we'll be doing, where we're going to get all these cultural Christians, people that call themselves cultural Christians, to come forward and try Christianity, just for a small period of time, for free. If you like it, you get baptized in front of people at the next demonstration. And I've passed this on to relevant people. We spoke about it, and it could be a thing. But Bishop Kaiju is on to something big also. But what I want to say now, did anyone notice when Tommy Robinson left prison, he was wearing rosary beads? He was wearing rosary beads. And I think that was a sign to say that he was in there, because I've heard him talking in an interview as well about a chaplain or a pastor or a priest coming to speak to him on a few occasions. And I really truly believe this, and this will age well. Mark my words. And don't trust me, I promise you now, I haven't heard this from any sources that I've got, although you guys know I could find out quite easily if Tommy has. I'd like to wait and find out and hear it from the horse's mouth himself. I believe he's converted to Christianity, and I believe this has happened because of his imprisonment. And if that is so, then he has the same story that I do. And the same story as many do. So many people find God in prison, or well, God finds them. It is unreal. And we'll do a testimonial thing in the future with myself, but let's crack on with this again. But how interesting is that?
For their own agenda. And I think that, and I feel betrayed and have done for a long time by the church leaders. They've always sided with the communists, sided with the Islamists, against us, the working class. We were their lost sheep.
Is there a public figure that you respect?
I wonder if he cites verses soon. Lost
I don't think so. No, because the people I look up to are the people who have taken risks, and I look up to Donald Trump, I look up to Elon Musk, I look up to Geert Wilders, I look up to anyone who spoke out and took the risks and didn't need to. Donald Trump never needed to stand for election. He was loved. He took a major risk to bring about change. So I think, and everyone would expect me to respect those people.
Have you ever thought about quitting public life?
No. So many people rely on the voice and rely on the movement that even if I wanted to take a back seat, how can I?
What's something you've changed your mind about?
I guess it's ever evolving. I guess back when we invaded Afghanistan and Iraq, you'd have believed what the government were telling you.
Sure.
Now I know they lied. So then it makes you question everything. What else did they lie about? If they lied about weapons of mass destruction, they took out Gaddafi. Was that a lie? Was that the right thing to do? Even now with Assad being removed, was that right? What's been replaced with? It's been replaced by jihadists. Where were Christians safe? They were safe under Assad. So I look at all of the conflicts that we've gone through, and you end up asking more questions and having less answers. The British establishment have lied to us about every conflict. They've lied about everything. So it's a dangerous situation, because you then get people who just don't believe anything. We should be able to trust. Our government could warn us. Look at the whole COVID thing. There could be a mass disease about to spread tomorrow, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh yeah, of course it is. Oh yeah, really." But there could be. But no one's ever going to believe them. They've told too many lies.
Is there something you think you weren't radical enough about 10 years ago, when you were considered, I mean, truly one of the most radical men in the UK?
And I wasn't even radical. I wasn't even radical. I've never been.
Have you become more radical than you were back then?
No, the public have become more radical. I now sit here, and there's loads of people far more radical than me. But I was classed as the biggest. Do you know there was a think tank, and it had the top 10 terrorists in the world. I was number 10. Do you know what it was? It was the leader of Hamas, the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, Tommy Robinson. I was like, what do I do? Make a few videos. I talk about terrorists, so I'm as bad as a terrorist. You can make it up.
I'll have to look into that. That's very
It was in the Sun. The Sun newspaper run the story. It was insane.
That's very funny.
Well, it's funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. When you're me and I'm sitting there thinking,
no, it's not funny when
this ain't even funny.
Yeah.
I'm getting detained in countries. I got refused. I landed in Mexico with my children. This was about 3 years ago. I got detained as soon as I landed. I got off the plane. I'm usually having a pretty stressful life here. So I got off and I said, kids. So I was with 2 other families. And I went, I need this so much.
Yeah.
And then they come from everywhere. And I looked at my kids and I was like, what's going on? I was nicked and arrested as a threat to national security in Mexico. Yeah? That weekend, 30 people were murdered at a football match. How am I a threat to your national security? And they detained me, put me in the detention centre, separated me from the kids, and then deported me back to England. So I've said all these things, and then now the world has shifted, British public have shifted, everything's shifted. And now I still sit here saying exactly the same. I've never changed my rhetoric.
What's your favourite word in the English language?
2 words, mass deportations.
Who's your favourite author?
Who's my favourite author?
Except for yourself, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say
Plug
myself.
your book.
Douglas Murray.
UK, 4 #1 best-selling books. Not bad for a hooligan from Luton.
Not bad.
That's all right. I've got another 3 coming out this year.
What's your favourite podcaster?
Liam Tufts. Straight. Do you know when I watch him? Just straight, no bullshit. Ask the questions. Bang.
You got to reply to me. Stop avoiding me.
Huge. Yeah, I enjoy podcasts, and I enjoy listening to different people's stories. And I enjoy actually hearing from that person rather than being told who they are. I think you can learn a lot. You can sit and watch someone. Do you know who I watched the other day? Who I've been watching? What's Navario Media? What's that?
Oh, no, I don't know that.
That's a lefty on there. I forget his name. He actually seems all right. I used to hate him. I started watching thinking, well, he's all right. He's all right. So, yeah.
Who's your favourite historical figure? What historical figure in British history do you look up to most?
Churchill. Because if you look at his life, he wasn't perfect. He was a bit of a mess. But at that time in our life, at that time in our country, we needed him. We needed someone who didn't give a shit. We needed someone who was a bit of a mess. And I guess that's probably because I look at myself at times as a bit of a mess.
Just compare yourself to Churchill.
Not to Churchill, but I looked at Churchill when I watched the film of Churchill, and I saw that he was a bit on the piss a lot.
Sure.
A bit didn't care.
Yeah.
A bit erratic.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, at that moment in time, we needed someone like that who wouldn't back down, who just didn't care. And I guess at times I think I just have steamrolled ahead. So no, I'm not comparing myself to Churchill at all. Yeah.
Rupert Lowe or Nigel Farage?
Oh, Rupert Lowe, that's an easy question. Absolute easy question.
Oh, you're a free speech absolutist.
I am a free speech absolutist.
Who do you fear more, radical Islamists or radical progressives? Who do you think is a greater danger to Western society?
We wouldn't have the radical Islamists if it wasn't for the radical progressives.
What's the most honest media outlet? Which media outlet has been most honest about you over the last few years?
Oh, Visegrad 24.
Thanks,
Stefan,
thank you so much.
100%. No, none of them. None of them. Because even now, even like GB News, which is meant to be the people's channel, you're not even allowed to mention my name. They still have a rule you can't mention my name. And I know that because all of the presenters have asked to have me on. And they're like, they've gone mad. They've gone absolutely mad. We can't mention you. I think you're meant to be the free speech channel. Do you know what I mean? They have radical Islamists on. You can't make it up, can you?
No, it's insane.
They have jihadists on. They have left-wing extremists on, communists on, blatant racists on. It's like they still have me as some bogeyman. I don't know why.
Who's the most disingenuous journalist in mainstream media?
The most
disingenuous, if you had to name a name.
John Sweeney from Panodrama. I ended him.
What are you most proud of in your life?
My children. I guess I'm proud of how my children they haven't had it easy. It's become a lot easier in the sense of public perception, but at their height of their school years, they were outcast by so many. There'd be 30 kids in a class that invite 29 to a party, and my son probably wouldn't understand why. And then they'd invite all the other kids would be getting invited around other kids' houses and things like that, and that he never did. And I think it seemed like he had a harder ride than the girls, probably because he looked like me. So I think that the way the kids have dealt with it, and then I've been in prison, I've been away from home for too long, I've had so many prison sentences. I guess I'm proud of how they've handled it, and they've gone through a lot that they should never have gone through. My son was in a car when I was violently attacked. My 3 children were sat there when someone come over saying they're going to stick holes in me and stab me. They've had to see things that children just shouldn't have to see, and the sort of things I'd want to protect them from. And I guess at times I feel a lot of guilt for certain situations of how they've had to live or how things they've had to see. And sometimes I can get emotional, very emotional about it when I think about it. But then at the same time, I'm proud of them, and I hope that they'd be proud of me.
What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret? The breakup of my family.
Sorry, Tommy. Is there anything you've ever said in life that you would want to take back?
No, I don't. Do you know when it comes to taking back even all regrets, I think that every mistake, whether it be a mistake, every prison sentence, every situation helps to chisel who you become. I wouldn't be where I am now or sat where I am and have the be in the position I am if I hadn't gone through all the things in life. If I hadn't had the upbringing I'd had in Luton, I never would have stood up. I'd already seen a lot of violence. I'd already been in a lot of confrontational situations as a youngster. I'd already experienced a lot that when I got the first punch in the nose, I didn't run away. When I got the first death threat, I was willing to stand up. But all of that comes from being born in a town stricken with poverty and violence. So I don't think you could want to change it and say, I wish I was born somewhere else. But I think being born in Luton made me the man I am. And I think going through the things I've gone through has put me in the position I am now and developed the character I have now. So I don't have any regrets. The only regret I have is the consequence and the breakdown of my family. And that's come about. And I don't blame my ex-wife either. I don't blame her, because Jesus Christ, You know, you think you've been in the doghouse. Do you know, lads watching this, you think you've been in the doghouse. Try the police knocking at the door saying ISIS are going to kill you, or knocking at your wife's door and telling her you're going to get done with acid in the face, or the door was being raided multiple times by the police in the first 6 months and then having to leave. 8 different times my family had to move home. 8 different times. So I regret the atmosphere of the country. And this is why I get upset as well, or get annoyed, because so many people who now speak in the language I spoke, they're now saying exactly what I was said. Those same people created the atmosphere that meant no one could say it. That when you did try to say it, you were deemed a racist and extremist. You were beaten, you were battered. You had people literally wanting to attack you in the street. They didn't know why they wanted to attack you in the street. They've just been told that you're a bad guy. You're literally a reincarnation of Hitler or something because you disagree with Islamic extremism. It's mental. So I just that's my regret is the consequence and the breakdown of my family. If I could have one thing again, I'd rather just be a family.
You've spent months and months in prison recently. Was there anything about that prison experience that you'd say was good?
Yes, there definitely was. It was the opportunity for me to see within the prison system. I literally got to talk to every prison officer in the jail, and I'm a journalist. Yeah, and I'm inquisitive and I want to know what's happening. Every day I'd ask questions. I'd understand what's happening. I'd understand the situation, the facilities, everything around the prison. I had the best experience a journalist could ever have in understanding just how bad the situation is with Islamic radicals and the control that Islamists have of our prison system and why they have that control and how it works. For example, the staff would tell me, because whilst I was in Woodhill, a prison officer was stabbed in the neck again by a Muslim. A prisoner was beheaded in Woodhill prison 7 years ago. On the yard, they cut his head off. 3 Muslims cut another prisoner's head off. You probably don't even make our news, yeah? But what's happening within the prison system, the security services say 800 radicals are coming out a year. If you're in America and you're watching this, stop Islam now in your prison system, or you're going to lose control of your country. Because the most hardened, toughened men and lifelong criminals are converting to Islam. They're building an army within the prison system. Now, the way it works in the prison system is the brothers, which is the Muslims, run everything. No one can touch them. The prison I was in was 40% Muslim population, 50% of the prison. 37, okay. I've over-exaggerated massively.
37%,
50% of the prisoners are in there for murder. 37%, what's the Muslim population of the UK?
Few percent.
Yeah, the prison's 37%. What's going on?
And it's not just Woodhill, because I actually have the statistics here. Feltham is 42% of the prison population.
Only where I was before was 33%.
Whitemore is 43%. So Belmarsh is 32%.
So the dispersals and the maximum securities are where everyone's converted. Now, there was an attempt to resist this, yeah, from a prison in called Frankland. Frankland was known as the last bastion where English prisoners could go without being dominated and ruled by the Islamic gangs. And there was a resistance formed called the Piranha Gang. And it was set up of English prisoners who tried to fight against the Islamic takeover of the jail. Those English prisoners are currently stuck in basements of prisons. They've spent 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in solitary confinement. They're not allowed into any prison because they'll be dead, because there's fatwas put on them within the prison system. So just like me, when I got to Woodhill prison, they said, we can't put you anywhere. You're going to have to be on solitary confinement because you're going to get murdered. Well, these poor British men that tried to resist, and I spoke to the staff. So, for example, the man who set up the Piranha Gang, who's currently residing in a segregation unit of a prison, stuck on solitary confinement for years, losing his mind. When he set it up, I spoke to other prison staff who said he wasn't against Muslims. I was with him in Frankland. When the Muslims were bullying and converting and forcefully intimidating and attacking everyone, they stood up to them. They fought them. But because they fought them, the word went across the whole prison system that they must be killed. He goes, and now they've got fatwas, they can't go into the prison system. So then they smashed the English gang and let the Islamic radicals take over every single prison in the country, every prison. And what happens, which is what all the prison, I was interviewing the staff about it. They said, if we stood up to the Muslim brothers in the prison, but if we went and arrested him and raided his cell, they just put a hit on us. They put a hit on us. So one of us would just be walking down the prison wing, would get stabbed in the neck.
Why do you think Islamists or these Muslim prison gangs are more effective at organizing within a jail?
Because they're a brotherhood, not just in a jail. Growing up, do you know when you're growing up in Luton, say you walk out of a nightclub and there's a fight between Muslims and non-Muslims, sure. They get out of every car. They come out of the chicken shops. I mean, like what's happened? They just come from everywhere. They don't know each other. They do not know each other. They automatically are a brotherhood yeah, and they fight for each other. It's like when you was at school, you had a fight with one of them, you might as well have declared war on the whole tribe. And then when you get outside school, say we're 13 years old, and a couple of English lads are fighting a couple of the Pakistanis at school at lunchtime. By the time you get outside the school gates, there's 50 men. We don't act like that. We're not a gang mentality. When you see, do you know, you're from Poland, yeah? When the Polish come to Luton, you see a Polish man, he's walking with a Polish woman, yeah? You see a Pakistani man, he's walking with 10 other men. It's a male dominant culture. The women are not there. It's like they're literally waiting for something to happen. When they're in cars, they just come from everywhere. So the prison system is no different. Say you've got 100 prisoners on the wing. They only need 10 because those 10 will stick together like shit. No one's, you mess with one, you mess with every one of them. They are militant, and then their messages get spread from one prison to the other, usually by the imams. The imams pass the messages around. If someone, say for example, the Ukrainian who was beheaded in Wood Hill, he had an incident in another prison. By the time he landed in the next prison, he just gets done straight away. So there was an incident, and I heard all the prison staff talking to me about how it works. And the prison actually understood that it was Muslim lawyers that were passing the messages on. So Muslim lawyers would go from one prison to the other prison, get him, he's done.
Bear with me. Sorry, I got my mic. I had my mic muted. Yeah, he's right on this. From someone that's actually been on the inside, and I know how bad it is. I was put on this one bay of a wing. So I can't remember whether it's like a landing, a spur, they call it, a spur. So I was on this one spur, and there was probably about 9 guys that were Muslims on that spur, and the rest, well, we were just, it was mixed. So there was a couple of Bulgarians at the end, and then they just kept themselves to themselves. There was myself, a few others, and then there was a couple of gypsy lads who I used to get on with because they were Christian and they attended the mass and stuff like that. So yeah, it was we were in there, and they would literally, because you have these tables, and it's on some of these spurs you can have these tables that have got these seats that are built into them. You just fold them down, and they literally won't eat with you. They'll go on to their other end and they won't eat with you, and they'll keep quiet when they're talking about certain things, and it is so easy. And I'm telling you now, I've seen people, like when you go into holding prisons like HMP Huel or a BCAT prison, which is usually like the first prison you go to, or a remand prison, or a prison where they will determine what category prisoner you are to send you to either a D category, which was what Tommy was. He was a category D prisoner. I was a category D prisoner, which means you're not that much harm to the public, or you should be in an open prison type thing. Now, but at first, whenever you get sent down, you always go to a category B prison, and in those, it is unreal. It is absolutely unreal. People will literally, I've seen someone set fire to themselves in their cell and literally laugh whilst they were burning. I've seen, and I'll never forget, this is why I got single cell status. I had this one guy, I was put into this cell. They call it 2 and up. So I was 2'd up with this one guy, funnily enough, called Mohammed. And for the first night, he seemed okay. All right. But the next day, he had come in with 2 of his friends. And they said, "Do you know about Islam?" And I was like, "No, not really, not a lot." Obviously, now I've got the credentials and I do what I do. I can debate pretty much any Muslim that you put in front of me, and I would know I will win that debate. But that's 3 years of studying afterwards. And in fact, this is where my journey started. And this guy came in with 2 of his friends, and they said, if you do not take your shahada, which is your like submission to Allah and his messenger Muhammad, then by tomorrow evening, by tomorrow when dinner is being served, you're going to get wetted up. And wetting up, that it's slang for cut up. You'll be stabbed And they do. I've seen people get stabbed for literally a vape cartridge, which is worth 50 pence. And they do it. They will do it. They make cups with boiling water. They add sugar to it. And if they really want to do a job, they'll add jam to it too. So it sticks to the person's face. And their face will literally fall off. And the sound of the person who is having to endure that, it's haunting. And I have heard and seen some of this take place, but the Islamic problem as well, because the prisons I was in, and it's weird because they move you around like a yo-yo. I think that's so you don't get used to being in the same place, and so it's either to mess with your head or it's logistically they don't want you getting used to the layouts and stuff, or people getting too used to one another. And I mean, I was back. This is way back in 2019 and 2012. I did 2 sentences, and yeah, so they move you round and round. And the prisons that I was in were mainly in the Midlands, and even there was a big problem. And I was seeing, like, because I remember I can cut hair, and I was a barber, a wing barber. And I did this one lad, but he didn't want the clippers used. He said, I can't have clippers used on me because I'm a Muslim. He was as British as a pork sausage. Like, I was shocked. I was like, what are you on about? Because I thought, like you know, they were Asians. Just, you know, I didn't know anyone could just become a Muslim. Right? So that's when I started studying Islam. And it was funny because I ended up in Portland, which was right down in Dorset, right as south as you can go. And it was a friend that I went to school with who I bumped into on the wing that gave me the Quran. I've still got it, in fact. I've still got it to this day. It's here, this book. And I read it. And he gave it to me to keep. And I read it. And I'll tell you what, like, because he got me interested in, because he was going, this was before I considered Christianity and that. And he was saying to me, you won't believe it, in there you'll find that the Twin Towers were predicted. They've proved that the moon was split in half. And they said that Muhammad split the moon in half in the Quran. And there's proof that if you go outside and if you ask the officers to Google it, there's proof. And he was coming out with all this scientific proof stuff, and all these so convincing truths, convincing stories and things that you would consider to be facts, the way he was saying it. And you're thinking, wow, if this is the real deal, I'm signing up. And this is how they get you, and they trap you, and they get you into it. So it's either they literally threaten you to do it, or they come up with Jesus was a Muslim, or they'll come up with any possible way they can to relate to you. They'll build rapport, earn your trust, and then they'll get you to, they'll say, did you hear about this, or what do you think about this? Or any wrong about how these girls dress nowadays? Doesn't it make you, you look at them, don't you, automatically in a sexual way? And some men will say, oh yeah, I suppose. And it's like, well, that's why we make our women. And isn't it good that the fact that we can marry 4 wives? So you're 1 minute you're talking about, how women are dressing and stuff like that, and then it's like, yeah, and we can have 4 of them. It's like, okay. Right, so you go from one extreme to the other. But yeah, the way Tommy was talking about Islam in jail, bang on. Absolutely bang on. But I was listening, sorry I had to disappear for a couple of minutes, but I'm back now, and we'll be back to it. So let's continue with this. And I'll mute.
On this English lads get hurt day in, day out, every week. There's no resistance anymore to them. No one can fight them. There's too many of them. If prisoners had the music on, they're getting beat up. You can't put the music on when it comes to Friday prayers, when it comes to anything. Like basically they're Sharia compliant wings now. People are forced.
There's a lot of articles available online in reputable media. I mean, we're talking about the Times, the Telegraph, even the Guardian. If you go back a few years, they were warning about the Islamist takeover of jails. I think there's an article in the Guardian from 2008 that talks about this quite openly, and yet nothing's been done with it.
Do you know why?
What you're saying is you've just been to jail and it's worse than ever?
It's worse than ever. And it's not just worse than ever. You'll hear from the staff. It's insane.
So talk me through about your contact with the staff. How did the prison staff react to having you as a prisoner?
They were brilliant with me.
Were they white British? Were they Muslims?
No, they were.
What was the demographic breakdown of the guards?
I met 2 Muslim staff there, and
Okay.
they were great to me. The Muslim, Mr. Khan, they were great to me. You know, in America, when they see the military, they give them a round of applause.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you see a prison staff officer, walk over and shake their hand. No one understands what they're dealing with. The level of threat and violence and the attacks that are happening now against prison staff is insane. They're being butchered across the whole country. They're being butchered. It only makes the news. So the attack in Woodhill, you know, Salman Abedi. So in these separation centres, I'm in segregation, and they take me each day to a separation centre, which is built for the jihadists within the prison. Yeah. And this is where they're meant to take them to stop them radicalising. Well, when I went there, I walked on this wing. It's like a travel lodge. Yeah. The rooms have got built-in mirrors, wardrobes. My cell had a blue mat. I had a blue mat. That's it. Yeah. And I'm looking through the windows of these cells going, they've got everything. They've got a kitchen with a big cooker, a fridge freezer, an air fryer, a toaster, a sandwich maker. This is specifically built for the terrorists. So the terrorists have got the best facilities out of anyone. No one else has got this. The jihadists have got this. Yeah. So I'm looking at it. They had a wall, the whole size, a massive wall, which was an Islamic library of every single hadith you can think of. And I was like, this is why they're here. They're in here because of these books. You're now giving them all these books. And then in there, they've got a pool table, a snooker table, a table tennis, table football. They've got all these things. Then none of them are on solitary confinement. So I'm on solitary confinement, and I'm looking, thinking, I don't have cooking facilities. I have nothing. How come they've got all this? They're the terrorists. Axel Ridder-Cabana, he hasn't done a day on solitary confinement. They're not allowed to put them on solitary confinement. How am I, for a civil offence of playing a film, sat on solitary confinement while they're given total free reign? They control everything. Everyone's scared of them. They're not getting no hassle. Axel Ridder-Cabana ain't going to get hurt in jail. None of them are.
So do you think that this is happening because of the willingness of these organised radical Muslims leveraging their willingness to be violent against prison staff?
Totally.
Their ability to leverage activist lawyers on the outside. So it's like a nexus of elements, but a lot of it is to do with their willingness to use violence within the jails themselves.
And then the jail governor's going for the easy option of just saying, give them what they want. Just give them what they want. Just stand back. Let them run the place. Okay. And by letting them run the place, what that means is vulnerable non-Muslims are being bullied, converted. So basically, when it comes to the food, Muslims run everything. So the people doing all the servery will be all the bearded Muslims. Yeah. When the Muslims come up to get their dinner, they're getting loads of dinner. When the non-Muslims are coming up, it's getting a little bit of nothing. So everyone, if you want to get a nice food, if you want to get anything, you better convert. And then slowly they make them convert. They force them.
So essentially, the benefits of converting are
protection,
outweigh the pain of not.
I'll tell you another thing they do as well.
Unless you convert. And there's so many people explaining it.
Another thing that's quite common within the prison system as well, I'll just quickly interfere on this one, is during Ramadan, you'll have literally everyone, right? I was tempted once to do it. And I'll give you the reason why. During Ramadan, they're not allowed to eat during the day, are they? Or drink during the day. So meals are provided for them at nighttime. We're not talking prison food, by the way. We're not talking like they get a couple of lads into kitchens at night and they use the food that everyone else has. We're talking takeaways. We're talking Indian, kebab, you name it. Like there is literally a list you get given. You got all these options you can choose from. And it's probably from like 4 local takeaways nearest to that prison. So it's either kebab, Indian, or halal stuff. So like I know one lad, he got KFC. like, because KFC, believe it or not, is halal. I'm sure it's halal. So it's unreal. So what you get come the time of Ramadan is all these British lads that know nothing about Islam, nothing at all, and they've been attending like Christian services, they've been attending Catholic mass, even like Bible study, because you get all these classes and services. It gets you out your cell. So anything to get you out the cell, you'll take part of, because you don't want to be behind the door 23 hours a day. And if you haven't got a job, you want to be out, and you want to be socializing with other people. You want to be doing something, because believe me, watching TV all day just in one tiny little room, which has a toilet in, especially if you share a cell and the other one's going to the toilet and all this, that, and the other. Oh, honestly, it's horrendous. I got the single cell status because I forgot to tell you the rest of the story. So that guy with that Mohammed, they gave me till the next day to convert and take the Shahada. I didn't do it. So what I did later that night, this is why I got single cell status and I got moved, was basically I waited for the guy to go to sleep. He was on the bunk above me. He went to sleep, and I regrettably, but I feel at the same time, at that moment in time, I had no choice. I woke him up by wrapping his arm around the ladder, basically, of the bunk bed, and I had him screaming until the screws, the officers, they came in, and they burst the door open. Then at that point, he managed to wriggle away, so I managed to get hold of his leg, and I was going to try and break his leg, and I got moved into solitary confinement, and then the very next day I had a transfer to HMP Brinsford. So that got me single cell status then, because I was classed as like a violent prisoner, so I couldn't share a cell. So that meant I was able to have my own cell with my own toilet, and in a category C prison, which I then got moved to, Oakwood, you had your own shower also as well. Now, it sounds lovely, but it's not. It really isn't. It's literally just a thing in the ceiling, and it's basically on the same floor as the toilet. And it's, and you got your bed, you got a unit on the side, a space about that much of a wardrobe, if you like, to hang your clothes, and a seat to sit at the same type of desk type thing, which is what, like a computer desk, I suppose, to have your food on, and that's it. Or in the old Victorian prisons, you'll have like a built-in table with built-in chairs. So strange. Every prison's different. It's completely different, but it's also kind of the same as well. It's all the same size. It's all small, but yeah, that's how I ended up and sorted that problem out. But yeah, you'll literally get everyone wanting to start inquiring about Islam, and then writing that they're doing Ramadan. And the worst thing about it is the imam, which is the teacher, or like the equivalent to a priest or a pastor for Christianity, the imam for Islam will actually allow it to happen, because they'll basically say to the lads, the British lads, look, if we do this, and we know the reason you're doing it because you want to get, access to the food that we're giving our brothers, as they'll say, our brothers. So after, you have to commit yourself and make sure that you attend Friday prayers during Ramadan. So they will. And then when they've done Friday prayers and they find themselves that they've got a brotherhood, and then all the lads around them, and they see one take their shahada, and they all start shouting Allahu Akbar, and they're all celebrating, and it gives them this sense of purpose, a sense of identity, a sense of brotherhood. And then they all say to one another as well, because believe it's happened to my friend. He told me all about it because I spoke him out of it. I talked him out of Islam, and he come back to Christ, thankfully. But he said like how he felt. It was the adrenaline. It was. I was like, that's what they use. That's how they know how to get you on board. It's tactics. And he said, yeah, but when they were saying that I was part of the brotherhood, they said like it doesn't matter what I do or what I did in the past or what if anything happens to me. If one person attacks me on the way, he says that all my brothers have to defend me. He said, so I feel safer. And all this stuff, and I'm like, mate, I would rather die on my knees than beg standing. I really would. And it's he's just I got that saying wrong, by the way. What was it? I'd rather die standing than living on my knees begging. But yeah. Anyway, back to the video.
And do you know what? If the prison system want to deal with it, separate Muslims and non-Muslims. That's what you need to do. You need to make sure all the non-Muslim car thieves or drug dealers who are going to jail are protected from being bullied, radicalised, converted.
Separate them, and that's it.
It takes men who have been wronged their whole life. And this is happening in America.
Or ban Islam as an ideology altogether.
All the blacks are going to convert. They can convert. Your black prison gangs are going to become black jihadist gangs. You need to stop it. I've seen it in Luton. All the young black gangs, they're all now Muslim. There's two gangs in the UK, in Birmingham, called the Johnsons and the Burger Boys, where they used to just be black Afro-Caribbean gangs. Now they're just black Muslim gangs, and they're running everything. And Islam becomes the dominant force. And what it does, it takes people who have been wronged their whole life, who don't lack family, lack all these things, and it gives them a sense of identity, brotherhood, belonging. It gives them a cause, and the cause is to fight the system, because Islam will fight against the system, fight against Britain, fight against everything. So it's a dangerous, dangerous cocktail situation that no one's addressing. And why aren't they addressing it? Because they're too scared to admit the problem. The problem is you need to separate Muslims and non-Muslims. And that's a reality.
Did you pray when you were in solitary confinement?
When I was in, I met a great pastor in the prison, a brilliant man, which is rare in the Christian church in the UK, to find someone who you can relate with. You know, Muslims, they have the imams are just lads. So when the imams can relate you, they torture. They talk like me. They act like me. The Christian priest is usually about 8 years old and has got nothing in common with me. Well, this priest did. And I think he was a great representative of Christianity within the prison system. And I guarantee his church is full of that model. So I related with him, which is the start. I also have looked deeply over the last few years about what it is we're fighting for, and what made Britain, and what did make Britain. Christianity. We're a Christian culture, whether you want to believe in Jesus or not. You have to accept, and as I started reading the Bible, I accepted and understood, because I've never read the Bible. I read the Quran before I read the Bible. I wrote my own Quran before I even looked at the Bible. Because I hated the Catholic Church because of the paedophile thing. My mum was a Catholic. And I hated the priests, and I hated the representation. But I've never gone down, and then I look at what's happened to Britain, and it's because a void has been filled. We've lost faith, lost culture, lost identity since the attack on the church.
Yep.
And I don't blame people for disliking the church, because they're sold us out.
Oh, sorry, Lizzie.
That doesn't mean Christianity is. And there was an interview with the Bible with a queen that said, "What made Britain?" And she held up the Bible. And then, so as I looked deeply, and in our demonstrations in the Unite the Kingdom rallies, I saw someone holding up a sign saying "Christ is King," and I watched as the crowds erupted. And I've started looking recently at the statistics and they've quadrupled the statistics of young men in Britain going to church. We're trying to find out who we are, and they don't want us knowing who we are and where we come from. And we're Englishmen, and there's 1,000 years of Christian history in this country, 1,000 years, and they've destroyed it and gave it away in 60. And we either decide now what our future looks like. Does it look Christian? Does it look like our ancestors? Is that our culture and our way of life? Or are we going to surrender and succumb to Islamic ideology, communist ideology, all these other ideologies which are masquerading? So it's up to us to make a decision where we go. But I think at our next event, do you know how many priests now are contacting me that want to talk at our event? When we used to have events, the priests were with the Islamists. They were over there holding up signs about diversity, flying rainbow flags and that. So something huge is happening across Europe, across the West. And I think that when the population realise just what they've done to this country, when fathers sit and realise the safety of their daughters has gone, what they have imported into this country, what they've taken from us, they've taken our children are going to grow up in a totally different society than we grew up. And it's right now, we're in a pivotal moment in our country's history where we either come together, we send a message to the establishment. I don't know if we're voting our way out of this, but I don't know if we can vote our way out of this. Not with what we face in Britain, but I think that the time is now. I think that when you look at what happened 12 months ago with the Southport incident and the riots, instead of listening to every town and city's people that were angry, and many of them don't know how to, when I was 25 years old, I didn't know how to express my anger. I was one of the people who run through the streets. I was one of those men, angry, young, betrayed. It's about us trying to show those young men the right way to channel that anger. And the right way is not to give the establishment what they want. What they want is you covering your face. What they want is you acting aggressively, because then they can bring in more law and they can put you aside as far right, as racist, as extremists. So I think we're in a pivotal moment, and I think the next 12 months are going to be, I sense, and I've said it, a revolution is brewing in Great Britain. I mean a revolution, something that I don't think the establishment quite understand the feeling of emotion that's there. I see it when I walk down the street. I see people coming up to me in tears. I see people understanding, people are reading, looking, listening. They weren't ready 10 years ago. They wouldn't listen to us. Now the public's ready.
One of the things that gets me quite emotional is this revival of Christendom and of Catholicism. And there's two very interesting statistics that I recently saw. The first one was that Gen Z men in the USA, the study was done in the USA, were more likely to attend church than millennials, so you have this kind of, when you look at the graph, it goes, the boomer generation and then Generation X and then declines. Suddenly there's this incredible uptick. It's not huge yet, but there's an uptick. There's more young men going to church than there were before. So there is a revival. And the other incredible statistic that I saw, and I believe it was on a US data set as well, is that men below the age of 25 were more right-wing than men above the age of 75, which I thought was such an interesting kind of thing of like the people living with the consequences of the decisions that these men took 50 years ago are now absolutely rejecting it and have turned much more conservative. And this leads me on to very neatly onto the next section that I kind of wanted to cover with you. This is almost the 1-year anniversary of the Southport riots. And the media blamed you. You were one of the people who was named as allegedly one of the leaders. The EDL was also mentioned as one of the organizations. I mean, it's been defunct for what?
But there has to be an investigation into this. So basically, when the riots kicked off over Southport, all local people in Southport, all angry, all frustrated, all knew the government were lying, all knew that they were hiding something, yeah? Everyone knew that. No one trusts them, no one believes them. They've created that atmosphere. Now, Keir Starmer had an option. He either accepts that the British public are angry in every town and city, or he blames someone else. So what did they do? They reinvented the English Defence League, which had been dead for a decade. There was no English. When I saw English Defence League mentioned after the first riot, I knew they're coming for me. I knew. I thought I'm getting blamed.
You weren't even in the country.
I weren't in the country. I was out of the country. I was calling for calm, calling for peace, but they just totally erase all that. It doesn't matter. They've got the weapon of the media. We'll tell people who's responsible. And why was that? If you look, for example, in Hull, Hartlepool, where people were protesting at the hotel in Hull, they don't want to tell you that one of the migrants left the hotel and butchered an old age British pensioner to death with a knife while shouting about Palestine. In Tamworth, when people were at the hotel in Tamworth, they don't want to tell you that Mohammed left the hotel and raped an English woman. At each one of these cities where people are angry, there's a reason why they're angry. And rather than Keir Starmer have to accept your government policy, your failure, you've imported barbarians into towns and cities. You're making the people in those towns and cities who are struggling to pay for anything, struggling to get the dentist, struggling for doctors. You're giving priority to these barbarians, and they're coming out of the hotels and raping. Rather than to talk about any of that, he successfully managed to never have this discussion by just saying far right about 1 million times every time he's on TV. These far right thugs, these far right thugs. Then what he done is he weaponized the media and he weaponized the court system and the judiciary. And he got judges to hammer the likes of Lucy Connolly, remanded 31 months for saying a few mean words. The same judge that wants to protect the kids sentence her to 31 months, but let off pedophiles. Every judge that they use had let off pedophiles when you compare the two, yeah? They lock people up for shouting at police dogs. Now, the purpose of that was to scare and intimidate the British public into shutting up. Sit down, shut up. We're flooding your country. We're flooding your towns. We're flooding your cities. We don't care. This is what we're doing. And if you step out of line, we're going to stick you in jail. The reason,
and just to add some context to that, there's 89,000 prison places in the United Kingdom, and prisons are already overflowing. This is quite important context for viewers.
They released all the criminals,
right? So in order to be able to jail people who wrote mean things online, you have to let off actual criminals.
They released,
because there's no seats in the prison.
One of the people they released from prison to put in the people for hurty words went and murdered someone the next day. They released rapists. They released child groomers. So they emptied the prison of the criminals and then locked up granddads like Peter Lynch, who died in prison, held a sign saying about the government betraying us and said, "I pray for my children," and they locked him up for 2 years and he's dead. That's what they did. That's what they did. But when they did that, and then what the Daily Mail did, I was on holiday with my family. They flew out, and there's in the press awards, they give themselves an award, for the image of the riots from Southport.
Was me in a sunbed.
Not Axel Rudikmana.
You in a sunbed.
This is the power of the media. They made the whole picture from that summer's riots me. And then they told everyone it was me.
That you were leading them from a sunbed on
instigating riots from his sunbed. And the truth of it was, I was calling for calm, calling for peace. Truth doesn't matter, because what they were doing was creating a situation where they didn't have to accept any fault. Now, who's at fault for the situation? What's happened in the last few weeks? Epping, a young schoolgirl was sexually assaulted on the way home in her school uniform. Norwich, where there's protests today, two migrants left that hotel. One raped a little boy, one raped a woman. Yeah. What happened in Ashton yesterday? A woman was raped in the park. All by migrants in hotels. What I challenge anyone to do this, yeah? What's the government's job? It's to protect, first and foremost, the British public. Go home and put in refugee Leicester. It'll bring up 3-4 different instances, one city of refugees raping. Refugee Manchester. You'll get a case where a woman was jogging in. You can do it for any city.
Let's do it right now.
Do it now. And you can do this for any city. Refugee Leeds.
Refugee rape Leeds. I'm searching right now.
Yep.
And here we have on the news, 2 men jailed after raping women on night out. Facebook user who, and then the second one, this is how interesting is this. Facebook user who encouraged people to attack hotel housing refugees jailed.
So,
yeah.
But the first one is refugees who, yeah?
Correct.
And you can do this for any city in the country, because I've done it. Yeah. I looked up, I thought, right, let me see. Let me pick a city. Sheffield, refugee, bang, case, bang, case, bang. Now, one case should be enough. Yeah, the fact that in every single town and city, refugees are leaving hotels and raping women are women. The problem is, whose daughters do you think they are? Whose wives do you think they are? And when the British public realise, which they're now starting to realise, that this is in every town and city.
And this is, I think, the major shift of what's happened in the time span that we've known each other. When we met over a decade ago now, the issue was contained
to major cities.
It was contained within major cities, and it was contained to bad neighborhoods of major cities. And it was mostly predominantly affecting the working class, the white British working class that didn't have a voice. And you became that voice, and it was very easy to shut you up, because there was no one else really in the House. There was no one in the House of Commons 10, 15 years ago talking about these issues, because none of the people in the Houses of Commons were actually affected by any of it.
Remember Jeremy Paxman?
Yes.
Jeremy Paxman? So when I went on Jeremy Paxman 2009, 2010, I was leading the English Defence League. It was my first big interview. And I was scared, because he was meant to be the powerhouse of interviewers, yeah? And when I went on, in that interview, I said, you can rewatch it. I said, Jeremy, do you know anyone hooked on heroin sold to them by Muslim gangs? You don't, do you? I do. Do you know anyone who's been murdered by a Muslim gang? You don't, do you? I do. Do you know any young girls you went to school with who now wear a full niqab? You don't, do you? I do. Do you know any kids who have been by Muslim gangs? You don't, do you? I do, Jeremy. So I don't expect you to understand, but I do expect you to listen. Yeah. And I said, that's happening to people in towns and cities like mine. Now, when the cameras went off, he sat back and he said, do you know something? You know those things you just said? I said, yeah. He goes, none of us know. He goes, the points you just made, none of us know those people. I said, no, you don't. Well, we do. That's our towns and cities. And the different, what's accelerated is that used to be confined to Luton, Birmingham, Bradford, all working class places. Yeah. Now with the migrant invasion,
bear with me a sec.
and the hotels that they're filling in.
And this is a major problem with where I live. A major problem. So most of the people where I live, they go past the roundabout or the entrance to the motorway, or in America you would call the highway. They get a nosebleed because all they're used to is luxury. The demographic where I live, as you can tell, I live in the country. I'm a country boy. I'm a farmer. I'm not a farmer, but I'm a country boy. Yeah, I'm a country lad, and I'm surrounded by little towns and award-winning villages. And the demographics in these award-winning villages and towns mainly go in my favour, our favour, the British, the white indigenous British favour. That's why, and you know, it isn't racist to say this. We need to come to terms with it. This is why the statistics for crime and certain crimes as well, if you want to be specific, things like it rhymes with grape, and then other like murder, knife crime, gun crime, stuff like that. It doesn't exist. Something like that round here is like a shock to the system. If you heard that someone local has been stabbed, the people would be shocked. They'd lock the doors. They wouldn't know how to act. But like Tommy said, it will come to these places because the types of places like where I live are where these MPs live, where the middle class live, or even upper class when you go further out into the country where they've got acres of land and fields and access to acres of land. So they don't see this. But when you go into the inner cities and when you're well-traveled like I am, and you go places and you can't stay in one place for more than a few days, I can. I physically can. I live half a week in England, half a week in Wales. And it's always like that. Always has been. Or if I'm not here, I'm somewhere else. And I'm rarely at my own address, right? Which is why I'm hardly on this anymore. I use my phone and that's it. But I've been to these places. I've been to Bradford. I've been to Leeds. I've been to Leicester. I've been to the outskirts of London, Harrow, Southall, Watford. I've been to those places. I've seen what they look like. And believe me, I've experienced it. And unless you do experience it, when you witness a man spit at a British woman in front of her and call her a gory or a hoary or something like that because she's not wearing a burqa or a hijab, in Britain, on British soil, the very soil our ancestors and her ancestors have fought and paid for into the system for many a years, where their ancestors have given birth onto this soil. It is rich in our heritage. It's built in our DNA. Instead of being like the left, Antifa, who attacked me today, defending some of these characters that are, because I can guarantee you, yes, there will be some decent migrants in that hotel that I was at today. There will be some that might better their lives and progress and integrate and assimilate with us. There may well be. But there will also be some that are likely to have been in ISIS or are likely to go and cause harm, or from a culture that thinks it's okay to have sexual intercourse with young children, or think it's okay to prey on women from a different background or religion because they're not in theirs. And they literally want to live like a certain profit as from a certain ideology. And you'll find different, that's where you find different, you'll find one person from the religion of peace who is completely different to the other. And we're literally talking about like one extreme to the other. And there's a saying that is stuck with me, and that is radical Islam is the snake in the grass, but moderate Islam is the grass hiding the snake. That saying has stuck with me, and believe me, it couldn't be further from the truth. The ideology itself isn't compatible with the West, whether you're moderate or not. And it's not just the books like the Quran or the Hadiths. Go check out Holy Ornaments or Reliance of the Traveller. Those books, which you'll see in the video that I upload, which could possibly get my channel deleted in the next week or so, will rock your socks off. But I'm putting it up, I'm putting a disclaimer up, and I'm already looking into how I can upload this video with the proofs for an educational purposes only, with a disclaimer that you have to click that you're over 18 to watch it, so that then I can upload it on YouTube and you read the verses yourself. Just a few, select few that I've chosen that you can read and make your own minds up. And these books are being published. And these books are the very books that Sharia law was formed out of. Not the Quran and not the Hadiths, but these two books, Holy Ornaments and Reliance of the Traveller. But yes, let's go back to the video.
In villages, all over the whole country, those same people who didn't understand it, they now feel the fear that we feel. They're now worried about their daughters the way we worry about our daughters. They're now, no one can escape this now. And now, because of social media, because the media didn't report on this, we know there was conspiracy of silence from all the media outlets to do with the grooming scandal, hiding it, not just hiding it, but being used as a weapon to attack anyone who spoke about it. Yeah. Well, now we're the media. Yeah. We don't need the Sun newspaper. We don't need the Daily Fail. We don't need any of these medias. Yeah. We are the media. What's the most encouraging thing right now is on the street at these protests. Did you see Epping last week? Yeah. Epping protests where the peaceful community of Epping, mums, nans, sisters, daughters, had come together to say enough is enough. Our daughters are scared they're being attacked sexually by these migrants in this hotel. The migrants have been there for 5 years. Criminality's through the roof. So the community have got together. What did the police do? The unions, which are the government in bed with the Labour government, the unions funded outside groups to come in wearing masks and balaclavas. The police then brought them in buses in to attack the residents. Now, usually that would have worked, because what would usually happen is what did happen. The mainstream media then run the headlines saying far-right extremists, racists, violence at demonstration. What can't happen anymore is the public and citizen journalists showed the police bringing them in, showed that it was outsiders. Now, overnight, because we are the media, all the public share it on all of our platforms. It's not just Tommy Robinson's page anymore. It's not just Visegrad. It's not just Mayor Tusi. It's not that there are so many outlets now of citizen journalists out there interviewing people on the street. So rather than them saying it's all racist, there's about 20 videos of old women and young girls and normal people standing saying, we're scared. So the media aren't interviewing those people. The BBC aren't there getting the mood of the nation, getting the mood of the public and the community. They're irrelevant now. The media don't realise they've been walking around with terminal illness for so long. You're dead. You're dead. No one believes you. Yeah? And they hate it that they're turning to people like us. And when you see when most of this country realise the dire situation our nation is in and what the future actually looks like, they're going to look to who betrayed them. They're going to look to the BBC. They're going to look to the Labour Party. They're going to look to Conservatives, and they're going to be furious. Yeah? And then they're going to look to who told them the truth. And that doesn't mean we're perfect, because I'm far from perfect. Yeah, and I've made lots of mistakes. I'm from Luton Town. I've never claimed to be perfect, but we told you the truth. We through all of the hell, and when I say we, you know how many people there were like me? You know, everyone gets to know my story. We're sitting here now telling my story. How many different people are there that tried to speak up? How many whistleblowers were there in councils that were silenced, lost their jobs, scared, intimidated? How many more Sammy Woodhouses are there? I can't believe Sammy Woodhouse stood up and told her story the way she did. I can't believe she fearlessly stood up as a survivor of those gangs, got them sent to jail, and all the threats and violence and all those things stayed living in the same area. I look and think, how did she do that? I know what those gangs are like. But how many more Sammy Woodhouses are there that didn't get to that position because they were beaten down and scared? I know from dealing with the grooming survivors in Telford, all of them faced houses being smashed up. Police didn't help them. So how many more people are there? And what's brewing now is the perfect atmosphere for a political and cultural revolution. Now that's where Christianity comes in. People are searching for something, and a void has been filled by Islam. It's a void because we lost faith, we lost identity, and we lost our own respect in ourselves.
This is why I bring up Southport, and it's interesting because the crackdown that happened that you explained afterwards, including the two-tier justice system hitting down on people who spoke out, wanting to silence them. 1 year after that, we have the situation with the migrant hotels. Could you explain the migrant hotels to people who aren't from the UK, people who aren't familiar with the topic? Can you explain roughly what the situation is?
I'll explain. When these riots were going on last year, after Southport, what the media...
So Southport was the murder by Axel Rudabakana, the son of a Rwandan alleged refugee.
Who had under his pillow at the time the Al-Qaeda manual, yeah? But then they said it was nothing to do with terrorism. He had ricin, but they didn't tell us that. They kept that all a secret. And then they spoke about misinformation when they were the ones propagating.
Axel Rudabakana murdered several small girls.
Murdered and butchered lots of young children in the city of Southport or the town of Southport. And when that happened, the public were angry because they knew they were being lied to. They went out in the streets across the country. It spread. But what the media never showed you was that in all those towns and cities, hundreds of Muslims screaming Allah Akbar were violently beating white people and non-Muslims in every town and city.
And this was completely ignored by the media. The only place
and let me tell you something right now, very quickly, I want to interrupt here because this is very important. This is the exact reason why my previous channel, The Patriotic Christian, got deleted. Because I uploaded those videos of Muslim gangs carrying swords, baseball bats, golf clubs, machetes, zombie knives, you name it, daggers, hammers. And I was showing videos of men being chased through parks, teenagers being chased by mobs and gangs from the Muslim community. And them all sticking together. And one video where a Muslim police officer told a group of Muslims that were literally holding swords and daggers in their hands, ready to go and chop people up in the street, or so say, protecting the mosques. They got told by the police to go and put their weapons in the mosque. They didn't get arrested for carrying an offensive weapon like I did back in 2009. I got arrested for carrying a keyring penknife and got a suspended sentence for 2 years for my first ever offence. A custodial sentence which was suspended for 2 years. A little tiny little pocket Swiss Army knife. It was a keyring. I did nothing wrong with it neither. It wasn't used for threatening purposes. Nothing. It was just for having it on my person. These people were literally in groups and gangs, had these weapons. They had, some of them had been used in fights. And the officer, he was a liaison officer, a police liaison officer. So in other words, he was a Muslim police officer, but because he was from the Muslim community, he was able to talk to them rather than the British police speaking to them, or, you know, a non-Muslim British officer speaking to them, and ask them politely to go, as brothers, to go and put their weapons and leave them in the mosque. Oh, and you can collect them later and take them home. They didn't take them off them. They didn't arrest them. They didn't charge them. And I uploaded these videos to show the other side of what was going on. That it wasn't just the British rioting, it wasn't just the British fighting, that it was the other side too. They were complicit, even more so than the British people were. And it was because of the likes of Nick Lowles saying that British men were going around throwing acid in Muslim women's faces. Acid attacks. And did Nick Lowles get put away for his comments on Hope Not Hate? No, he didn't. Yet the likes of Lucy Connolly and everybody else, or anyone who even shared a video or put a post or liked a post even, got 24 months or 4 years just for sharing hurty words or saying hurty words at a time where the British public were so angry and wanted to be heard. And all the government did was come down on their own people, labelled them far-right thugs, and just left it at that. Anything to do with the other side, they completely ignored. And where people like myself had YouTube platforms to upload the proof to show the world what was really going on, we had our channels deleted. We got punished that way. So I wanted to make that very clear, because my previous channel was doing so good. It was the progress I was making was unreal. And I had so many people ask me to come on to do co-hosting, to come on to podcasts. I had people coming on to my live streams. We were having debates, and there were so many videos and remixes and shorts that I had made on that channel that was just literally lost in one day. No strikes, no warnings, gone, finito, done. And that's why Prevent strategy are on my back now. I am now labelled as a far-right extremist on the police database. I'm monitored just like a terrorist would be. So everyone who follows or goes to any types of these demonstrations, and you see those guys with these cameras, the police guys with those cameras saying that they're gathering information, or they're information gatherers, they're not gathering information. Well, not just gathering information. They're gathering your faces so they can put names to faces. They can look you up on social media, or if you've got a platform that you speak to or from, or who you follow, and they'll get them banned, disclosed. And that's why a lot of money has been pumped in to this elite, they call it the elite internet policing team force, or police force, or policing team. What was it? The elite internet policing force team. And you go look it up for yourselves. They've just had millions pumped into them. And the online, and it was funny, last week, when the Online Safety Act first came out, the day it came out into action, my personal 12 to 15-year-old Facebook account, which had nothing political or anything bad on it whatsoever, got disabled. And I can't get that back. I've got memories, photos, videos of my kids on there, friends that I've met abroad, all sorts. It's gone. I'm not getting it back. And this is because of the establishment, our corrupt, tyrannical, communist establishment. And that's why people are getting even more wound up, and they're continuing. And people like myself, we won't give up. We'll continue fighting the good fight, because we know the truth. We are speaking the truth. We stand together, and we will be united in the same cause. And that's what, and it's thanks to the likes of Tommy and those who keep on going, not giving up, that we can still have hope that we will win this. Let's continue.
Next, if it wasn't for X and citizen journalism and all of our accounts, no one would even know this happened. There was a documentary on this week on Channel 4 about the riots. It didn't show one single image of all the Muslims kicking, violently beating. It showed British people throwing stones at windows, but it didn't show all the British people getting their heads jumped on by the Muslim gangs. It didn't show the true reflection of what was happening. Now we fast forward 12 months. Now I went to jail on the 26th of October. There was a demonstration on the 26th of October, which I knew I didn't want to hold a demonstration. Yeah, I was out of the country. I watched what the government done. I watched them try and install fear in everyone, thinking we're successfully shut everyone up here. Yeah, and they did, because people stopped protesting. People
were terrified of being sentenced. They saw the sentences, the jail sentences being handed out. No one wanted to write anything on X anymore, or on Facebook, or on social media in general.
So then we announced in response to that, which I was laughing at the time, saying, "You think you shut us up?" Yeah. 26th of October, the biggest gathering of patriots the country's ever seen. And I hoped that people would turn up. I wasn't sure, because I understood how scared people were. But I thought, we need to now show the public you can have your freedom of speech. You can still protest. And we have to do it peacefully.
And if you are sentenced, if you are put into jail for writing mean things online, people will speak up for you.
I think that, unfortunately, I remember speaking to family members saying, I know this is going to be no consolation to you. Your husband's in jail. Your husband's a martyr. He's a martyr for free speech. Yeah. Unfortunately, the husband had to go to jail. I had to go to jail. Lucy Connolly doesn't realise it now. Unfortunately, darling, and her family watching, she had to go to jail, because that imprisonment has been part of the mass awakening, which is now priming this nation for a proper revolution. And if she didn't go to jail and people didn't see the injustice and feel the injustice, it might take another 10 years. So all of these bad things that happened, me, solitary confinement for 7 months, had to happen. People had to see it. People have to understand. We needed Keir Starmer to get elected. We need to see what it's like living under the Labour government. You all need to see what they're going to do with your money, bankrupt you, betray you. They don't care about you. People needed to see that. Yeah. So although it's bad, all of these things have been part of the situation that had to happen. So then the best thing is, currently, they think they were installing fear. They think they were scaring everyone. On the 13th of September, they're going to witness the biggest fuck you to the establishment this country's ever seen. They're going to see people come in numbers we could never have dreamed of. Yeah, we're going to lock down the whole of our capital city with people who are going to be there to celebrate their identity and their culture. They have wanted to break us and make sure we're not united. We're going to unite like they've never seen on the 13th of September, and we're going to do it our way. And when I say our way, we're not going to riot. There's not going to be no face coverings. There's going to be no balaclavas. There's going to be smiles, children, celebration, and a togetherness that will strike the biggest fear into that British establishment. And they will realise that, and I want the world to see, because the world is going to be watching September 13th in central London, and they're going to realise that Britain is awake. And they weren't awake. 5 years ago, this would be unthinkable. Yeah, we're going to show you how awake they are. And it's not just, and I have a lot of thank yous to say. Do you know, when I sat down with Jordan Peterson, it was thanks to his wife, Tammy Peterson. I sat down and done an interview with him, which was a big risk for him to sit down with his credibility and sit down and talk to me. I was a risk for everyone. Yeah. And to sit down and talk to me. And when I spoke to him afterwards, they expected a big backlash. He said, I got no backlash. I just got people that I was very surprised, ringing me saying, we agree with him. We agree with him. So the dam has burst. The bubble's burst. It's out of the bag. They can't put it back in anymore. Their labels, racist, far right, no one cares.
But go back to the migrant hotels.
The migrant hotels.
What, a year ago. Today we have the migrant hotels.
So the government.
What are them, for viewers who aren't from the UK? What are the migrant?
Every day, hundreds and hundreds of unvetted men are arriving from Somalia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Eritrea. They're being ferried in boats. Our government could stop this like that if they wanted to. There's no will to stop it. They don't want to stop it. It's all happening. Yeah, Trump stopped in America overnight. They do not want to stop it. They're lying. They're bringing them in, and then when they bring them in, everyone's struggling, can't get a dentist appointment, can't get a doctor's appointment. They then ferry them to big 4-5-star hotels. Everyone's struggling to feed them, taking the heating allowance away from the old age pensioners. These lot are in 4-star hotels, having 3 meals a day, living the life of Riley. That's what's happening, and people can see it. And that would be bad enough. There's no women, there's no children. They're all fighting age men. Their culture is alien to ours. Their view of women. When we look at it, say you go to Afghanistan, yeah. 99% of Muslims in Afghanistan want Sharia law. What do you think, that when you bring them here, they just leave that fort at the border?
Of course.
You know what I mean? Oh, they're here now. They're all liberal. They're going to integrate and assimilate. No, they're not. Yeah, that's not going to happen. You see, British statistics, we had 2/3 of British Muslims said they would not report on another Muslim who was going to join ISIS. That's 2/3. 23% of British Muslims want the implementation of Sharia law in the UK. That's nearly 1 million Muslims that need to leave. They need to go. It's not going to work. The time of walk, I said we walked on eggshells for years. Well, no need to walk on eggshells now.
And the reason that is because it's quoted in the Quran or in the Hadiths, I can't remember which one, but it is quoted that you are not to turn your back onto a brother or a sister, another Muslim, basically. It is written within their religious texts that they are not to turn one in, they are not to turn their back on one, even if they have done wrong. That is, so I'll find the quote and the verse for that, and I'll put that in with the rest of the other verses that I'll do. But I thought just let you know.
We're not at that point anymore. The British public are ready. We need mass deportations. We want them gone. They're not asylum seekers. They've gone through 16 safe countries. And it's not going to work. We know it's not going to work by looking at Luton, looking at Bradford, looking at Birmingham, Islamic ghetto after Islamic ghetto after Islamic ghetto. No assimilation, no integration. And you keep the borders open still. You keep bringing them in. One murder should have been enough. The fact that women are being butchered in every town and city across our country, and you continue to keep bringing them in. And whilst you're bringing them in, we're meant to pay for it. The British public are meant to pay for it. So these hotels, do you know the government, Keir Starmer's solution to this is we're going to get them out of the hotels. How are they getting them out of the hotels? They give them your houses. We're getting them out of the hotels and put them next door to you in your housing estate. So say like we just drove by Luton, yeah? There's massive new estates. Yeah. They used to be 30% social housing. They're now 45%. Their plan to solve the migrant crisis in the hotels is to take them out of the hotels and put them next door to you. And while they're going next door to you and you buy a lovely house and work hard all your life, they're going to stick these migrants who don't speak a word of English next door to you to be leering at your missus and kids.
You've been talking about revolution. What do you mean by that? What does it mean? What does a revolution mean to you?
I'm not talking about violent revolution. I'm talking about when the public galvanise themselves to bring to a standstill this country, to make the government realise. And do you know what happens? When we held our first United Kingdom demonstration, Nigel Farage was on his way to America. He'd already said he wasn't standing. When he saw 30 to 40,000 Brits, which is an unseen sight, because they don't take to the streets.
The only time I've seen that was in 2003. I was a young child, I was about 10. 1 million people stood out and went out into the streets against the Iraq War.
Yeah, but that wasn't a nationalist sort of patriotic sort of thing either. But
no, it wasn't. But it was. That was the one thing that the public said very loudly. They didn't want war.
But they still went with it, didn't they? But when you looked at that gave Nigel Farage the courage, because he didn't have it, to then say, "I'm standing now." Yeah. Reform have excelled. They've excelled because the atmosphere of the nation. But you see, if we bring 500,000 people or 1 million people out on the 30th of September, do you know how many members of parliament will all of a sudden find courage? Because they're all finding courage now, aren't they? Everyone's finding courage. Everyone's finding courage. I look and listen to Robert Jenrick and think, well, you weren't saying that 5 years ago, yeah? I'm very happy that many conservative politicians are refinding themselves and finding the courage and are going conservative again, yeah? But none of them were, right? None of them. So why are they doing it now? Because we are giving them the confidence as a public to do that. When they see 1 million people on the streets, do you know how many more of them will come out speaking? Because they're all cowards. They just jump ship. They all ride the wave. But they ride a wave that other people created. That's what frustrates me sometimes. And that's not me having a go at Robert Jenrick, because I think Robert Jenrick's doing very well.
And he's very good at social media. I'm interviewing him tomorrow. I'm looking forward to finding out about his social media strategy. He's very good.
Doing his interviews the way he does them, the way he talks and walks, it's connecting with the public in a way that politicians haven't. Yeah.
Correct.
I look at Rupert Lowe. I listen to Ben Habib. Have you ever sat down with Ben Habib? No. I think Ben's great. I sat and listened to him, and I think I go back through what he historically said, and he was saying these things before. Many people weren't saying these things before. Yeah. So I look and listen, and I think that so when I'm talking about revolution, I'll talk about the public being awake, and it's not just about being awake, but it's about unifying them. I think that I and others have an important role to play in unifying the public against
a general strike,
which is what we currently live under with the Labour Party. And I think the most important thing for us to do is send Keir Starmer and his comrades a message that we ain't backing down. Prison doesn't matter. Attacks doesn't matter. Going to lock us up, are you? Doesn't matter. Did it work locking me up the other month? Did it work for you? We've got a louder voice than we've ever had. More people listening to us than ever. So come and get us. I mean, come and get us. And that's an important message to say. And it doesn't mean we're not scared. It doesn't mean we're not worried. Yeah. but it's an important message to send to the public, saying now is the time to open your voice. Now is the time to speak your mind. You see, I've always said, when the bubble bursts, they've had this entire country scared, and they've had the public whispering. Yeah. Once that bubble bursts, they're not going to be whispering. They're going to be screaming from the rooftops in every town and city. When we look around and see what you've done to this nation, our country, and let's be blunt, it's our country. It's not some Somalian's country. It's not the Afghani's country. It's not. We've got nowhere we can go. No. Okay, they can go home. Where are we going? When the demographic of this nation has changed so much that it's no longer England, where are we meant to go? Is it right that we become a minority in England? No, it's not. And openly and proudly and unashamedly say that. This is Britain, England is a majority white nation and it must stay that way. That's not racist. That's not racist at all. Just like saying Nigeria must stay majority Nigerian and black. If it was being demographically replaced by white people, it'd be pretty much fair to say that that's wrong. Now, it's wrong. It must be addressed. What people need to understand is the demographical change to this country ain't coming from black Christians, ain't coming from Sikhs, ain't coming from Hindus. It's coming from Islam. And Islam is incompatible with Western democracy and freedom. And this is nothing new. The European Court of Human Rights established this in 2007. It's incompatible. Sharia is incompatible. Take Sharia out of Islam, there's nothing left.
What's interesting also about the numbers that have been coming, when Enoch Powell made his famous Rivers of Blood,
about 40,000, wasn't
he was talking, I think, about 50,000.
1.2 million come last year.
It was 50,000 a year that Enoch was warning about, saying it would end in Rivers of Blood. I think it was Carl Benjamin who made a rather astute observation. He asked a few years ago, how many stabbings does it take to create a river? Which I think is actually sort of quite a radical point, but it's a valid question. There's an epidemic of
we're
knife
supposed
crime.
to just accept this is normal now.
When it comes to taking the courage to speak, I think one of the people that we have to mention is Elon Musk, right? I mean, the world's wealthiest man took a massive gamble. I mean, gambled really, in his support for Donald Trump was probably sealed the election in many ways. I don't know if he would have won otherwise. And freeing the bird, as he says, about X. And Elon Musk, shared our entire previous interview. The last time we spoke, the entire interview was uploaded by Musk to.
My son told me 36 million views.
Yeah, and you were in the middle. You were in jail at the time.
And I look good in it and all.
Yeah. No. And I was crouching down so that to make you look taller. But Elon Musk has been a pretty vocal supporter of yours.
Without Elon Musk, without the purchasing of X, remember, I was in total censorship. But that didn't mean I was in total censorship. It meant the total British audience and public were in censorship. No one was able to have free discussion or see the reality of things on the streets, watch or understand different opinions. We were completely controlled up until Elon Musk bought X. He buys X. I'm in Spain. I get given my channel back. I'm shocked. That was the gloves are off. Let's fight. For me, the gloves are off. It's time to go. And I think that, I'm incredibly grateful. It's the same with Donald Trump. Elon Musk didn't have to buy X. And he didn't have to jump 2 feet into the free speech war. Yeah. He didn't have to give us free speech. He could have continued to be the most successful, richest man in the world, and no one wanted to kill him and hate him. Now he's made himself a polarizing figure to the enemies of freedom, but to the people who love freedom. I've said before when I was watching last year, I don't think Elon Musk will be remembered for sending things up into space. He'll be remembered for saving free speech. He'll be remembered in history as being the most important person in the battle for free speech and free ideas the world has seen. Because without him, big tech had total control. Without him, Donald Trump probably wouldn't be elected. Yeah. Without him, how many of us would even be sitting watching this discussion?
Let's not forget Tommy will be remembered as a national treasure to the UK as well.
None of this would have happened. So I'm incredibly personally grateful. As I sat in jail and found out that he'd shared our discussion, my film had been shared, I felt a massive sense of accomplishment in the fact that I knew I was going to break myself going to jail. I knew I've come out now. I'm not in the best place. I haven't been in the best place. I've been struggling a lot. I knew I was putting myself in that position, but the minute that he shared it, I knew it was all worth it. I knew the risk was worth it. It was a big risk. So I couldn't be more grateful to the man for what he has not just done for me, but you know what was most important was when he started highlighting the rape of Britain and he started highlighting the sexual abuse scandal. That was the most important thing because I knew then what it meant to those survivors who have been voiceless. We tried to give them a voice, but we were censored. Elon Musk overnight done more for the cause and the help of British children being raped than we've been able to do in 15 years. We've worked every day for 15 years to try and bring this to the world's attention. He done it like that. And I don't know if he really understands the importance of what he's done for Britain, what he's done for the public. And he would have seen, when he first started talking, they put him under counter-terrorism surveillance, didn't they? They said the counter-terrorism groups were looking at his tweets. It's like, for fuck's sake, what is going on? If Trump wouldn't have got elected, they would have gone for him massively. They would have gone for him massively. So even now, this new internet harms bill, that's because they're going for X. He's the target. They need to stop free speech. Free speech is their enemy. Free speech is their enemy because it's free speech that will allow the British public to understand how bad the problem is, which will allow them to wake up. So yeah, Elon, incredibly grateful.
And what's interesting about Elon is also that all it took was one man in Silicon Valley, one man in tech, and suddenly a number of other prominent figures in the tech world
found the courage again. It's like what's happening now.
Speak. So it comes in waves.
Courage is contagious.
Tommy, one of the things that has been polarizing about you is Israel. I wanted to ask you about, there's a shift on the right, which used to be, on one hand, that the right used to be sort of, Israel didn't want to deal with anyone on the right in Europe. The Israelis were not particularly.
Here you go. Right. So here will be your answer.
With the mass influx of with the rise of a Muslim voting bloc. So, for example, in France, you have Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who leads essentially the hard socialist party, 20% of the vote. Most of those are Maghrebis, Muslims. You see the same thing in the UK with Jeremy Corbyn, whose party is propped up. We've seen the rise of four Gaza independents, Adnan Hussein being perhaps the most famous of those. We see voting blocs in Germany. So we suddenly have the left, which was traditionally very pro-Israel.
Sorry, I meant Leslie, not Sue.
From Israel, because they are reliant on significant minorities of Muslims, European Muslims, who are very, very anti-Israeli. You've had a pro-Israel stance for as long as I've known you.
Since the first day. So it's nothing like, people are like, oh, Mossad. It's like, oh, fuck it, really? Do you know why they say I'm Mossad? Because when I went to Israel, I bought a Mossad t-shirt from the souvenir shop. When I went to New York, I bought a New York Police Department bloody t-shirt. I went in the New York Police Department, lads. And that's a bit stupid of me if I was Mossad to be wearing a Mossad t-shirt, wouldn't it? But I don't really care. Yeah? And I'll tell you why I don't care. Because I look at myself, if I was an Israeli and if I was Jewish, and I look at the history of what happened to Jews, and then I look at the argument from the left and from the Muslims, and I think, where do you want them to go? Historically, it's their land anyway. Shut up. There's no argument about it. Yeah, it's historically Israel is Jewish land. Yeah, but there's 55 Islamic nations. Why can't they have one? Why do you? And how many of the Islamic nations are taking in the Palestinians? Egypt's got a wall twice as big as Donald Trump's.
Oh yeah.
How many are Saudi taking in? Qatar. None of them want to take him in. And then I look at the argument of the Israeli and Jewish issue. Yeah. Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, is 7% Jew hatred. The Quran is 11%. If we get rid of the Israel land dispute, do the Islamists and the radicals hate the Jews or not? Yes, they do. But where are the Jews meant to go? Where do you want them to go? If they can't go to Israel, where are they meant to go? What would I do if I was Israel? And I look at the previous wars, the 6-day war, the 7-day war. I look at that and I see that the Islamic leaders of the Islamic nations surrounding them actually said, we're taking your women and we're taking your children as slaves. We're taking them as war booty. So they've been in this position where if they're not strong, they're wiped off the face of the map. Their daughters are being raped. So what do you want them to do? You're fighting. Do people even understand who Hamas are? Hamas are ISIS. They are ISIS. The Hamas, and I try and draw this comparison to people in England to understand. England, Scotland, on the border. Scotland elect a government, because this is what the Palestinians done with a majority population. There was two different parties, both were terrorist groups, but they elected Hamas. And on Hamas, in their manifesto, it says the final day of judgment does not come until every Jew is dead. Not every Zionist, every Jew. So imagine Scotland elected a government that says the final day of judgment does not come until every Englishman is dead. And then that government, with funding coming from other jihadist scumbag shitholes, that government used their money to then fire rockets every day at our families in England. What would we be doing? What would we be saying to our government? Go and get them, bomb them. And then they come over the border and they rape and pillage 1,400 people. And they're all cheering about it. And then not just they're cheering about it, but in every Western liberal democracy in the whole world, Iranian proxy armies are waving flags and celebrating it as well. So I look at all of that and I just think, if they were successful and they obliterated Israel, do you really think they're stopping at Israel? You don't see that they're coming straight for Europe. Hamas said on the October 8th, the day after October 7th, Israel's not our target. Rome, London. Okay?
Yeah.
People need to understand. I
Europe,
understand the mindset of the jihadists.
that,
I
like
understand
last
the
time,
Islamic mindset.
and that's where the Crusades happened.
Most people don't. Most people don't. And not just they don't, they're so thick. So
We've seen massive protests.
but I haven't had no money off Mossad. So if they want to give me money, and I get so much shit for it anyway. I get most of my shit comes from FNATs, comes from the far right, and all of it is that he works. And I see some of the comments, and I just think, Jesus, he works for Israel. I don't work for Israel. Oh, Israel first. No, England first. Yeah, England will always be first for me. England is first. Britain is first. But I do sympathise with the situation Israel in. They're a liberal democracy surrounded by totalitarian Islamic.
There you go, Leslie. Your answer's confirmed from Tommy himself.
Between the radical left and Islamists. And I think the only explanation, the only sensible one is it's a sort of marriage of convenience. The radical left and the Islamists want to see the Western world fall. So they're united. That's the one thing that they agree on.
What did they do in Lebanon? What did they do in Iran? Exactly the same. They come together to overthrow the status quo because the Marxists want to break down the whole system. Who can they align with to do it? And not just that, they all hate the Jews. No, it's not just that. It's not just about convenience. The left hate the Jews. The middle class hate the Jews. Yeah, not the working class in the UK. Go to a working class estate. Yeah? We don't hate Jews, but the education system and what's infiltrated the education system. Like the prison system can't deal with Islam in jail. Well, the universities can't deal with Islam in universities. They should just shut down the Islamic Society. But the Islamic Society, usually funded by Qatar or Iran, is promoting and propaganda against Jews, against Israel. Israel are losing this war. Yeah, not the war in Israel. They're losing the war of the minds of Western countries because the populations are being targeted with proxy war coming with massive funding. And do you know what they're now doing, which people don't even see, is Qatar used to fund £750 million. Qatar would fund this country. They'd fund mosques. They funded all the segregation and separation in Paris and in these Islamic ghettos was funded by Qatar. But they would fund all these things. And the way to convert and Islamize Europe used to be through mosques and dawah centers and conversions. Now it's through influencers. So a lot of the influencers you'll see on the right, whether it be Sneeko, you know Sneeko?
Of course.
You know he's gay, yeah?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, so there's an interview of Sneeko and he's sitting doing an interview and he says, he says, when I was about 17, 18, I weren't sure if I was gay or not. You're gay, mate. If you're not sure if you're gay, Sneeko, yeah? But Sneeko and all these they all convert to Islam. And there's a massive trend going on right now. Boxers are doing it. It furthers their career. Who's in charge of the boxing? Saudi Arabia, all these Islamic nations. It furthers them in their career. But all these influencers doing the same. Yeah, the Sneeko went and converted, and then he done it was a very high-end video going to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj, all this bullshit. Mate, you'll get thrown off a rooftop if you're yourself. But I'm watching all that. They're funding and they're winning through the influencers who are then promoting hatred against Israel, against Jews. And do you know why? Do you know why? Because it's easy. It's easy to be against Israel. No one's going to punch you up when you walk down the street. If you're pro-Israel, if you're pro-Hamas or pro-Palestine, no one's going to beat you up. You come out and start telling the truth or speaking up for Israel, everyone wants to get you. It's a difficult position, and I don't expect most cowards to take that position. I just tell the truth, and I don't really care. And that doesn't mean Israel's perfect at all. Far from it. Yeah. But when the American government were dropping bombs and invading every country, yeah, I didn't blame every American person. I accepted that Biden was a piece of shit who was a puppet for many other warmongering groups. I accept that there's problems within Israel, as there's problems within Britain. That doesn't mean you have to hate every Jew. Yeah, the majority of Jews I know are great people, and they love Britain. Any of the Jews I know in Britain are great. You want them all to leave, take all the money with them as well. Leave us with loads of bloody Somalis. Great choice. I tell you what, get all the highly educated Jews to leave, and we'll import a load more fucking medieval people from the backward societies. No. So I do get a lot of backlash for speaking up on behalf of Israel. I've been to Israel. I funded, I don't know if you saw, when I went to Israel, I paid young Arabs, Muslims, and I paid them to take me to a Fatah-controlled refugee camp in Bethlehem. So I went there, I risked my life. I could have got killed. If they'd have known who I was, I'd be dead. Yeah. And I went in and spent a day in a refugee camp. And when I spent that day in, I wanted to see from their perspective. The gentleman who took me around was a 4th generation refugee. And as he took me around, he said, Tommy, he didn't know who I was, but he said, my children will be 5th generation, their children will be 6th generation, and theirs will be 7th generation. We're never getting out of here. The reason being, we in Palestine, from Free Palestine, have had 2 times as much money than Germany had after the World War. And we all still live in squalor because the money doesn't go to us. It goes to war. And we'll forever be kept like this to benefit because they bring European politicians in. Do you know why I left that camp, that refugee camp? I wanted to give them money. I'm one of the most strongest advocates against Hamas and against Palestinian Authority, and I wanted to give them money. It works. And I said to my mate Dean, because a lad I went to school with, black lad I went to school with, I said, bruv, I'll do anything to get my kids out of poverty, and I'll do anything for giving my kids a good future. And what that gentleman told me in that camp was that the Palestinian, I said, who oppresses you? And I expected him to say Israel, yeah? And he said, the Palestinian Authority. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the Palestinian Authority pay anyone here. If you go and kill an Israeli, so then I said to him, so if someone leaves this camp and murders a Jew in Israel, he said, no, an Israeli. It doesn't matter if it's a Jew or not, yeah? I was like, okay. So someone leaves here and murders an Israeli, they get money for the rest of their life from the Palestinian Authority.
Pay to slay. It's called pay to slay. It's a monthly stipend.
And
it's
I was
real.
Like,
yeah.
No, but then I looked up the Palestinian Authority and I looked, it's our money. It's British taxpayers' money. So I thought, we're paying tax to pay people from this refugee camp to go out. And then I viewed, hold on, everything I thought I knew. So some of these people are just simply mercenaries. Maybe they don't even believe in Islam. Maybe this isn't jihad. Maybe they're just killing to get their family out of this shithole. Yeah. But I thought a lot. And then when I went to the Golan Heights when I was there. And I stood on the Golan Heights and bombs were going off in Syria at the time. 2015, was it? I can't remember. Bombs are going off. And I said to some Muslim lad, because every Muslim I met, I wanted to ask them what they thought. And I said to a Muslim lad, how happy are you living in Israel? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, how difficult is it for you as a Muslim? He looked at me like I was an idiot. He said,
it's important to understand the context. That's why Tommy informs people.
Because Israel's okay. And I didn't realise that there's 20% are Muslim, living happily. And as we went through, there's about 1,000 young Arabs, and they're doing camel racing. I spoke about this earlier. There's about 1,000 young, and I've got a T-shirt that says, I love Israel. Yeah? And I say, pull the car over, stop the car. We're going over there, yeah? And as we're walking over there, I see lads with Kalashnikovs, machine guns. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen? I've got an I love Israel T-shirt on, yeah? I'm about to bloody eyelid. And I've walked into them all, and I'm saying, all right, lads, Trump had just got elected. So it was 2016. Yeah. Trump had just got elected. I said, what do you think of Donald Trump? And they said, America needs strong men. This is all these Muslims. Yeah. I'm thinking everything I thought
because
I knew.
The Muslim world generally respects strong leaders.
Muslim men generally respect. Do you know when I walk through Luton, I have some of their main gangsters coming over and they put their hand out and he goes, Tommy, and he shakes my hand like that. He goes, I don't like you, but I respect you. He said, you stand up for what you believe in. Yeah. The only language Islam understands, I learned this growing up, is that the only language the Muslim gangs understand is we're not bothered by you. If you show them one bit of weakness, they will bully and run all over you. Yeah. I learned that as a kid. You can't do it. You can't show them weakness. So, but what I realized when I was in Israel, everything I thought I knew was the opposite. So then I come back from there and then I have some blue-haired clown telling me about Free Palestine. And I'm just like, well, have you ever been there? Have you ever been and spoke to any of the refugees? Ever spoke to any Muslims who live in Israel, happily live in Israel? None of them. They think we hear about all this, what do they call it? A thingy state, Israel, an apartheid state. Well, tell the Muslim politician in Israel that it's an apartheid state. I didn't realise. So as I looked and learned a lot, so I think most people talk from they believe the bullshit and they look at Hollywood. I don't believe anything I watch. It's impossible to. It's impossible to. What I do believe and what I know is that Hamas belong in the 7th century. Yeah. And that mindset belongs in the 7th century. And Israel, when I went there, was a beautiful country. And they're not scared.
Very important here, especially for you, Leslie, and anyone watching this who opposes Israel as well. And I just want to say this very clearly and very quickly. Go look up Hollywood on Facebook or especially on X. On X. If you've got an X account, go on X, look at Hollywood or Gaza Wood. in one word, Gazawod, Gaza Wood or Pallywood, and they will show you the very same actors, the so-called fake dead bodies, which are not dead, what is put into to make these videos, pictures used from previous wars in Syria and Yemen and other wars of conflict with children, and you see the scale, the sheer scale of actors dressed up as, where the Jews wear the big hats and the suits. They've even got IDF costumes and the filming equipment alone. They've got press costumes. They have, you wouldn't believe how big this industrial scale of propaganda is, and them repeating the same rhetoric, the same scripts that the children are given, and then they film them. And then what they forget, that sometimes these people forget to press stop. And then you see how much food they have also. You see them cooking. You see some of them, and it's all supposed to be kept within themselves. But luckily, you got some people who are smart hackers, and they're able to get this information. It's in the cloud. People can take it, and they can use it. And the one thing that Gazawood or Pallywood has exposed the most is every single individual video that has been put out there by the BBC, Sky, or any kind of mass media or mainstream media outlet has been debunked, has been shown to be a fake. And you can go and watch it and see it with your own eyes. Don't just listen to me and take my word for it. Go and view it and go and see where they literally put children under rubble and then go film and get someone to pretend that they're going in to rescue them. And then they ask for a donation. Then that money goes towards Hamas. Hamas then spend that on missiles to fire towards Israelis. So yeah, this has been going on for years, and that pay for slay, what the gentleman who's interviewing Tommy was talking about, that's true also. It's not just a Jew, it's an Israeli, whether they're Christian or even Muslim, because 20% of Israel, it's not like the UK where we have a small percentage of Muslims here. Israel itself is 20 to 25% Arab Muslim. So that means that when they're 16 or 18, I can't remember what age it is, they have to join the IDF. So there are Muslims in the IDF fighting against Hamas, against Hezbollah, against the Houthis. They're fighting against their own. And they love and they live for Israel. And this is what people don't know. And this is why we're trying to educate the left. The people that I've seen today standing outside these migrant hotels are the same people that will stand at these PLO marches and the pro-Palestine marches and support Hamas and calling for intifada, which they don't even know what an intifada is. It's ethnically cleansing Israel from the river to the sea. It's from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. It means the whole of Israel, and it's in the Hamas Charter. Again, don't take my word for it. Google Hamas Charter, read it, and it's there. It says, we will not stop, and this is why they were voted in by Palestinians themselves. They voted Hamas and the Palestinian Authority in to govern themselves. They voted for them like we would vote for Labour or the Tories, because their charter or their manifesto, in our words, basically said that we will not stop fighting until every single Jew is unalived. And then it comes up with a verse from the Quran, which says that even the trees and the stones will turn around and say, look behind me, here is a Jew trying to hide behind me. So even the trees and the stones won't protect them. And that Allah on the day of judgment will make sure that all these Jews and non-believers, infidels, Christians, atheists, even the communists and socialists will be unalived by the final caliphate, which is supposed to form when the Mahdi arrives, which again is another conversation. So let's continue, and we're at the end of the video, so let's continue this.
And if they don't fight, they'll be gone. They'll be gone. There'll be no Jews. So that's where I stand on it. And I don't care how many people that upsets. No, I'm not being paid a shekel for it either. Yeah, I just don't give a shit. I speak my mind on any of my beliefs, and always have. Now, yeah, and I'm a friend to you see the Jews in Britain. You see when that started happening with Hamas. I think it was important that the British men stood up and said, "We stand with you." Yeah, this pretending that the British public hate Jews. Yeah, no, the middle class, educated university types are coming out indoctrinated from an education system. You used to worry about your kids going to university and getting hooked on drugs. Now you got to worry whether they're going to come out a tranny or a jihadist.
Tommy Robinson, thank you so much.
Thanks, Stefan.
Careful, this video may not stay on the free and open internet for long.
Well, that was
and this is GB News Originals.
Brilliant.
Click that like button.
Interview there, and I really enjoyed that. And like I said, guys, don't take my word for what he was just saying there. Go and look up Pallywood or Gazawood on X, or I believe they're on Facebook as well. I don't know if they're on YouTube, but they expose all the propaganda, all the videos, all the donation videos that are asking with all these children crying on all these horrific, bloody scenes. And yeah, the hospitals. And you'll see the same actors and you'll see the same children being used time after time after time again. The same women being bombed. And you're thinking, how many times can this woman be bombed, killed? And she's in another video again. And you're like, I thought you were bombed like in the last one, and you're unalived, and you're. Hang on, right? Okay, because this makes sense. When you realize this, and you think, why can't the left see this? Like, they have access to the internet. They have access to exactly what I've got access to right in front of me right now. This is not like dark web stuff. This is not stuff that you know. Is hard to find. It's in your face. It's there. It's open, and I'm sure it's been sent to you, and it's been put in. I've put it in so many comments where I've tagged Gazawood and stuff. So go check it out. Go check it out. Where we've had discussions and debates. But even when they do see it themselves, they choose to ignore it. And they just won't. Unfortunately, the left are so beyond brainwashed and indoctrinated, and there's just no going back for them. Unfortunately, that's just the way they are. That's the way they're wired. Nothing's going to change. But yeah, guys, ladies, gentlemen, all I can say is before I go as well is if you haven't already, please like the video. It helps me, and I want to do a disclaimer as well. I am one of the only content creators, right? I'm one of the only YouTubers that literally don't do this for money. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have a buy me a coffee. I don't do this membership. I haven't set up any memberships. I haven't set up a way for YouTube to be able to pay me for my videos, regardless how many subscribers I get or how many views my videos get. I don't want the money. I don't want any money for what I do. It's a hobby of mine. I love doing this. I love talking about it. 2, it's about the truth. And I believe we should stand on the truth and the truth only. Okay. And I believe those who make money, and I will expose them, right? Believe me, I have a list, and the time is coming. Their time will come. I've said this in many videos previously. Their time will come. I'm going to expose every single grifter that is out there. We in Britain are living in a cost of living crisis. And there are people out there, so many people, so many individual platforms that ask you to just help out a little, just donate this little or super chats, for instance. When someone comes on live, you can do a super chat and donate money and give them £5 so your comment comes at the top. Think of what that £5 could actually get you and your children. £5 is, you could get you can make a family meal out of £5. Yeah, just because you want your name doesn't have to be up there. It's only going to be up there for a couple of seconds. Then they move on to the next one. And I have seen, and I know, and I've heard people brag, because I've been amongst these platformers, amongst these independent journalists, amongst these influencers and YouTubers, whatever you want to call them, or what we call ourselves. And they brag and they brag. And the worst thing about it is the videos that they put up. So when you go past, let's say, I don't know, 200,000 subscribers, and the videos that they put up very early in when they started their YouTube channel, when they start aging, it doesn't matter. Like when the views can still continue because people are interested in what they've said before, these videos will keep amounting revenue. And then you're looking at, in about 10 to 15 years time, even if they've stopped creating content, they'll still be bringing in money because of you. And I personally don't agree with that. Yes, believe me, it is hard work, right? The argument for making money on YouTube and creating content, I understand fully. It is hard work. And for some people, you do have to put yourself in very harsh situations, very rough, violent, volatile situations. Like today, myself, I got cornered, punched, kicked, stomped on by the police and Antifa in Bristol outside a Migrant hotel. But it doesn't mean I believe that I should have a lot of money. I chose to go there. I chose to film. I chose to get my phone out. So I do this out of love and love only. Love for my country. I do this because unlike my great-grandfathers, both of them, by the way, who lied about their age and enlisted into the army, one of which got shot in the leg, and the other one was a paratrooper jumping out of planes at night using the gunfire to direct where he was going to land, being shot at by Nazis. Right, those, my great-grandfathers, they used guns to fight for this country. I don't have a gun. I'm not in the army. And my uncle as well, Lieutenant Colonel, Master of Carmen. He was well known by the royal family. He had a full military honoured funeral opposite Buckingham Palace in Wellington Barracks. And they sent a messenger from the Queen saying, today, your family isn't the only one mourning Paul. My family too is mourning, as am I. And that was from the Queen herself. I don't have a rifle. I don't have medals. I am not in the army. I have not served for the forces. However, this is my weapon. This phone. This phone, I know, can bring the truth. And if I can get pieces of content, whether it's outside or whether I can go and study something and make a video, put a video together for you with my face in it, teaching and showing you what means what, so you know, and you can go and argue with others and pass that information on. To me, my job is done. And that's even if only 3 or 4 of you go and say, did you know that this book has these verses in that talk about this certain person from this certain religion? And that, let me give you one verse that talks about a certain prophet having intercourse with his dead auntie in the grave so that Allah would be more forgiving to her sins. Did you know about that verse? No. But I do. And I do know these books, and I've read these books. What about the young girl, the teachings or rules or laws, the laws on washing your private parts after entering what they call a behema, which is the anus or vagina of an animal or a male or female, dead or alive. And it states dead or alive, by the way. How to wash, what to wash, when to wash, how long to leave them, if you split the skin between the vagina and the anus. Now tell me, what type of person would you split the skin between a vagina and an anus on? Obviously someone who's very, very young. So these verses that I have read and I have had to read and endure and get my head round and to get myself ready to talk about, I have collected them and I'm going to put them all together into one video, upload it for educational purposes only, find out if I can do it in a way without being targeted by Prevent, because I'm already labelled and put on the database as a far-right extremist. But all I'm simply doing is speaking the truth. Reading a book. Reading a book. Do you know, it's weird, because a Muslim can cite this wherever he may be it in the streets of London, Westminster Bridge on a microphone with a speaker, online on YouTube. Yet the moment that I do it, the moment that I cite a verse from here to you, is the moment I get a knock on the door saying, you're in trouble, you're this, that, and the other, and I'll be sat in the dock. And that's the way this country has become, my friends, my brothers and my sisters. But let's go back with some of the things that Tommy was talking about. He was talking about the Renaissance and also the re-emergence of Christianity, not just in the UK, but across Europe. Now, I've seen statistics on this. And yes, there is evidence suggesting that there is, let's say, a revolution beginning to happen within the Christian church. But that isn't because of the church itself. The church hasn't taken any necessary steps yet to do anything. And in fact, there's another project which I want to go on, which might surprise you. I think I'm going to surprise you with this one rather than talk about it, because it's one that I don't think you'd believe me even if I said it. So, but I want to basically prove someone who is in the royal family already belongs to Islam. And this person you can probably already guess. But let's just say it's already been commented by a mufti himself. And if you go and look at what a mufti is, then you'll know that it's a very serious person. So I'm going to go and do my research and find out about that. But for the next couple of days, guys, I'm going to be putting together this video. Like I said, this is the only bit of machinery I have. This is my weapon. In fact, this is just the case. The actual phone is being charged at the moment because it's ran out of juice. I'm charging it. I've just had to pay extra for storage, which again, I know this is why content creators need money, because sometimes they need new, I don't know, they have to pay for more storage, or they'll have to get a better camera. Something that I'm going to do, but I'd rather pay it out of my own pocket than use your guys' money. And I know that there's plenty of you out there that would love to help me and would love to, I don't know, buy me a drink or something like that, or because of the things that I show you or the things that I talk about, whatever. You know, I had it in the past with my previous channel before it got deleted. I had so many kind, generous people that really did want to help me out, and in whatever way they could. And you know, it's nice, you know, just knowing that you're there. To me, that is payment. That's payment done. Just knowing that you're there and that offer is there. I'd never take it. I can. I want to do this because there's nothing more important than the truth. And if you guys go spread that truth, and you go and enlighten and awaken people, whether they are on the left or on the right, or whether it's your family, your friends, strangers, whatever. To me, like I said, my job is done. And to know that for me, as someone who currently doesn't work, I'm awaiting a liver transplant. For me, it gives me something to do. And I love the sense of community, because the community that I live in doesn't welcome people like myself with my views. They have no experience of the outer world like I do. They haven't traveled further than 30, 40, 50 miles. The majority of them. I'm not even kidding. Okay? All they know is they work from 9 to 5, they come home, they watch Hollyoaks, Emmerdale, Coronation Street, EastEnders, then they'll watch some late night thing, have some supper, hit the sack, and they'll do the repeat. And then come Friday and Saturday, they'll go spunk their money up the wall in the pub or in some nightclubs. And that's from teenagers to the older adults. Believe me, it's the same. If you, I would love for people to come and see how it is. It is almost like its own culture, and it's not just in this town. It's the neighboring town. It's all these little towns and villages have the same culture. People, they work in local warehouses or local factories, 9 to 5, or whether it's shift work. And then on the weekends, all they do is this. They don't go on X. They don't have, well, they'll have a Facebook, but just to talk to their friends. They don't want to get involved with politics because they don't have to. They're the middle class. They don't have to worry about having to wait for reduced prices of food, or having to go to certain places to buy frozen food and another place to buy food for your pantry or your cupboards. There's, you know, it's a different type way of living. So, you know, for me, with my views, my beliefs, like the local church, if I went into the church that's in here in this parish, even though I'm Eastern Orthodox, I'm not a Protestant, I'm not Church of England, I'm not a Catholic. So if I go into the local church, all you'll see there is ladies in their 80s and men in their late 70s. That's all you'll see. Whereas I go to my Eastern Orthodox church, and there are some young children, but I have noticed that the church that I attend will eventually fade away, because there won't be enough people attending that church. And do you know what? This is another topic, again, that I want to do. There's loads of projects that I want to do. I'm going to have to write them all down. I've got to prove a certain person in the royal family belongs to Islam. I've got to do these 2 other videos. I've got to do part 2 of the Ibis Gloucester Hotel at night, and get an actor for that. And then I've got to do the Islam one, the verses, and put that up for educational purposes. And then this one, whatever I've just talked about, that I'm going to have to go back and look at. I've got a memory like a goldfish. But yeah, and then I've got to edit and do the Migrant hotel stuff. So yeah, so that'll be up in the next 48 hours. I'll find a way. It was making me delete literally everything off my phone earlier to make memory, so I can upload this video, extract it from CapCut, and upload it to YouTube. So somehow I'm going to have to either get a new phone or a GoPro. And I've got the money, so I am going to do it. And all I can say is, bear with me. The content will get better. I am coming through a range of ideas. I'm also asking you as well. I want you guys to write, comment on the videos, please. I want ratings. I want to be told what you want me to do less, what you want me to do more, what you would like to see, what do you want me to do? What can I do for you? Use me. I'm giving myself to this channel. I want to be your voice. I want to do what you guys, and give you guys what you want to see, without you having to pay for it like you would normally. So just let me know what you want me to cover, and I'll cover it. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm going to love and leave you now. I'm going to have something quickly to eat because I am absolutely starving. I don't know if there's any comments I need to go through yet. Oh, people saying, write it down. Leslie, write it down, click. You're a bloody inspiration. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, my son had his liver transplant. This is 4 years ago, and he's doing great. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Do you know what? I've been waiting because, so I need to do my testimony as well. So that's another thing. So I've got hepatic encephalopathy, which, if you're familiar, if your son's got a new liver, you're going to know yourself what hepatic encephalopathy is. So it's a type of dementia for those who have liver problems, basically. You forget things very quickly. You have a memory like a goldfish. And yeah, so I'm on medication for it. So I have that, but I've been on and off the transplant list for the past, so back in 10 years now, nearly 10 years. So at first it was really bad because I was drinking at the time. So my liver is damaged due to alcohol. There's no lies here. This is all truth. So, you know, it's I'm open. I'm always open, and I'm comfortable to talk about absolutely anything. So, yeah. So I was an alcoholic from age 14 to 28. Yeah, 28. Manufactured myself into prison to get sober. Did 2 years, came out. And when I came out, I I've stayed sober. I had one lapse. I don't call it a relapse. I call it a lapse. And with that lapse, I got help from my partner. And that was it. And during the past 5 years, my doctor has written me off work, not just because of my liver, but because I have PV as well, which is called polycythemia vera. It's a blood disorder. It's a type of cancer, if you like, that causes clotting, and it can advance into leukemia if not controlled and monitored. So I have to undergo regular scans, procedures, tests, appointments, like constantly. So I'm always at the hospital, always at the doctor's, always doing something to do with medical stuff. So my doctor signed me off work. That, and I've got a PTSD and depression and anxiety, which was diagnosed when I was in my teens. So yeah, with that mixture, so I get bored very easily. That's why this is my outlet. I enjoy it. It also helps me get my frustration out with what is going on in my world, in my country, and what I love. And I'm very passionate about things, certain things. And I take things very seriously. I take things to heart very seriously. Maybe sometimes I'm too much. But I'm very passionate about my country and my love for it. And I don't want to be remembered as someone who didn't do anything. I would rather go out, because I know I'm not going to live as long as my brothers will, or as long as most of my friends will. I've probably got a maximum of 20 years to live, even if I have a transplant. And that's because of lots of reasons. Not just the liver problem, but other health problems. However, I want to be remembered as someone who took a fight and took a stand at the end. And even though I was ill, I didn't just sit and do nothing and enjoy, let's say, my retirement early. Because when I was at work, I did work hard. I did always took overtime. I've worked from the age of 12. From the age of 12, I worked hard. I had 2 paper rounds. I was doing sticking up. I was painting skits. What else was I doing? I was selling bits and bobs as well. I've always been a bit of a wheeler and dealer, a bit of a Dell boy. I've always done stuff, and then I've done lots of I do a charity event every year as well, sometimes 2. So I do my bit, and always have done. And when I used to work, I used to take every overtime opportunity I possibly could. If I could work 6 or 7 days, I would. And I miss it. I do miss it. So stuff like this, believe it or not, editing and stuff like that on that is a nightmare. I do have to undergo, and I'm going to pay for it again out of my own pocket, to do some IT lessons and learn how to edit videos on a computer. I'm going to buy a computer and do things like that so I can make better content, better videos, and give you a better experience. So, and then I want a better background. I want a nice studio as well. I want to be able to get those who do grift, who do make a money and a living out of what they do, and what I'm doing right now, that have better, equipment than me, and bigger platforms. And I'd love to sit with them and have discussions and hopefully get my name somewhere so that I can be remembered just like my uncle and just like my great-grandparents, as a man who fought for his country, but instead of with a gun, his phone. But that and the truth. And the truth. But anyway. I hope my CT scan results come through soon enough as well. And then that way I think I am better. I feel better, but yeah, let's just hope. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and press the alert sign so you get notified when I upload new content or make new content. And don't forget that I do like to add humor sometimes, so most of my shorts will have humor to it, so, and the future ones as well. But yeah, I've got to make that list. I've got to keep that in the head. Make the list of what we're going to do. But yeah. That's like the way. I don't want to leave you. It's nearly 3 hours of streaming. But anyway, take care, guys. Lots of love. Patriotic Christian UK. I'm out. I hope you enjoyed it all.